A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. I hope you're all well and you've had a good start to the week. Quite a few things to talk about. Transfers, obviously, takes prominence at this moment in time. I'm going to talk about that. Going to talk about the new signings, James Ward-Prowse, of course, that we heard about this morning, and various other stories that are sort of looming, and all these sort of main updates. The season's kicked off. Not only for the senior team, but also for the under-21s and the under-18s as well. I'm going to bring you a little bit of update on those two. But I know the majority of stories are all about transfers. We want to know who else we're signing, don't we? We want to know if we're going to add any more players or if we're going to lose any more players. And it's possible that both will happen. But before I do all of that, by the way, just to say hello to everyone. To Churchy, to Window, to Paul Williams, and to Lachert, to Mr. Wigram, who I saw at the game, that we went to the game on Saturday at Bournemouth, and all the other people that I saw, Bruno, Leslie, Dave Moth, and loads of others that I'm sure I'm going to forget the names of. And also I want to say a shout out to a chap that I saw at the when I went for the photo shoot a few weeks ago, and I said I'll say hello to you, and I completely forgot. And did I write your name down? Probably not. But I can't remember. I did write it down. But you and your lad, I hope you're both well. And I know your lad went to the Bournemouth game, so I hope he enjoyed that too. Sorry, I did write your names, but it's gone. Shows how organised I am. Let's say hello to everyone in the chat and see how you're all feeling tonight. Let's go all the way to the top as usual. Good evening to you, Huge. Just hope we sign Mohammed Kudus, and Lingard can do one. He had his chance, now do one. I've got a theory, and I'll talk about that later on. Good evening to you, Anthony. Sullivan could ring Everton up and sell them Moyes. You wish. Good evening, Epic. The idea that we might actually sell Paqueta and sign Lingard, Maguire and McTominay is really worrying. Well, possible with Lingard. I'll talk about that later. 50-50 with Maguire. Something going on there. And with McTominay, no, it's not happening. Good evening to you, Gravy Dave. I hope you're well. Lingard is vintage Moyes. Only 270 days till he's gone. Anthony, Maguire, on, off, blocked, on, off, even offering him the captain job, should have walked away. Yeah, it's interesting, but I will talk about that later. Good evening to you, Kent. I hope you're well. If Lingard comes back, it's like having an ex-back who half the town has been through, and she's got syphilis. Any truth in West Ham going back in for Milenkovic? I've not heard about that, but there is a deadline on Maguire, and I know we're going to be starting to look at other targets if that deadline's not met. We're kind of there's a bit of difference going on with the transfer window. I know we're taking our time with a lot of the transfers, but we're kind of going, look, up to this point and then forget about it. And it seems that it's kind of worked. I think it's what happened with James Ward-Prowse. We kind of said, look, we can't go on a Lingard. Here's the offer. Are you having it or you're not? And it looks like Southampton came back. Well, not looks like. Southampton did come back and accepted the offer. And I think that's what we're doing with Maguire as well. We're giving it a deadline. Now, I asked what the deadline was. I wasn't given a date, but I would imagine that we've got to give ourselves a good chance to go for other players. So I wouldn't be surprised if that deadline is probably going to be the middle of this week. If Maguire ain't coming, then if Maguire hasn't signed or agreed to sign, then it looks like, or if Man United don't let him go, then it looks like that deal's going to be off. Saudis have put a 10 million bid in for Antonio, sell him. Well, no, they've offered him 9 million, but I don't know what the bid is. But I've got a story about that too. Good evening to you, Paul. 2 points wasted on Saturday. I do agree. Can't sit on a 1-0 lead. Need to win games. Moyes put in a good team out. Ruined it with poor subs. I totally agree. I said that in my review at the weekend as well. Exactly that. Kent, after watching Solanke on Saturday, I'm even more convinced we may go for him. He runs the channels, holds the ball up, and could Moyes' modern-day version of Marcus Bent. I don't think they're going to sell him unless they've got other players in line. He's going to be quite important for them, isn't he? Let's scroll down. Sai. Oh, I saw Sai as well. Good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Good to see you at the game. I would have offered Southampton Ings as well as Downs. Well, Downs is only going on loan, and I hope he comes back and smashes it. But good to see you, mate. John, evening still. So much going on. This going to be another. Well, I'll leave you to judge whether it's going to be a good show or not at the end of it. Good evening, Billy Bob. I get gently caressed. I've gently caressed the like button. I thought you were gently. Thank you. By the way, if you're new to the channel, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell notification to let you know when I'm next on. I'm heading towards 4,000 subscribers. I can't believe it. 4,000 of you lunatics watching, listening to me rabbit on. Why not? Thank you all anyway. Usual suspects. Good evening to you. West Ham is being run like a circus. Now Moyes wants to sign the club clown Lingard. Belon Dawson, good evening to you. I was joking us about getting Jesse and Kostic. We're embarrassing, no shame. Kostic, we need a left back. Flameur, I hope you're well, mate. I've mentioned it before still. Claret and Booze, what did you mention before? Repeat. Good evening, Mr. Burden. How are you? Not working tonight? Hurry up and waiting to go to bed, mate. Have you had your dinner yet? You normally start about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and finish about 9. Bill, good evening to you. I don't expect Stell to be as animated as Claret and Booze was earlier over Lingard. You take it with a pinch of salt. What else can you do? You can't go nuts about these things. Do I want Lingard back? No, I don't. But I'll explain what I think might happen with Lingard. It might be a bit far-fetched, but I'll leave you to decide whether it is or not. Evening, Ed. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Flammer, I've mentioned it before, your channel and are the best. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I really do. I would rather take Paya instead. Have you seen the size of him, mate? I don't know if I would. He's gone to Brazil, isn't he? He's gone to a club in Brazil to sell someone's car. Andy, good evening. I hope you're all well. Very well. 2 points drop, absolutely, and all down to negative management from. I agree. I agree. There's nothing more I could say about. I'm going to do a little review of the game, but to be quite honest with you, it's not much different to what you guys have said and what I said at the weekend. It was 2 points dropped. It was really frustrating because we played really well. Rhonda and Tony, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Graham. How are you? Absolutely not in favour of Lingard rejoining our club. Yeah, but we're not David Moyes, are we? And we know what David Moyes is like. He does what he wants. Fuck me, he does. Hammers Mikey, club's a joke, even letting him go anywhere near us. If Moyes does not sign him short term, then if Moyes does sign him short term, then I'm done with this whole club until the owners and manager gone. Sick of it. Just calm down, because I can see a logic. And you know what I'm like. I always try to see a sort of a positive. And it's a little bit, well, I'll talk about it later, but get that blood pressure down, mate. Rupert, punctuality isn't your strong point. Yeah, not eating is not your strong point, mate. Big man. Who else we got here? Good evening to you, Howard. I hope you're well. Mate, you know, I'm only joking. When are we going to see you? You're not coming down for Chelsea. When's the next away game? Let us know when you're coming down. Good evening, Howard. How are you? Good evening, Bill. If we sign the 3 Man United rejects, we'll know the colour of our third kit. Good point. I do. I've got no choice. Adam, good evening. Late as always. No, never late. I always say you lot are always early. Wouldn't be right if you were on time. That is true. Who else we got? Good evening to you, Peter. Pull plug on Slaphead deal and don't dare give watch about a contract. Don't give watch boy a contract. Watch boy a contract. Good evening to you, Garino. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Stephen. How are you? Warren Mitchell was a great actor. He was really a Spurs supporter. We know that. Thank you for telling us that. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Who else we got? Good evening, Hammerette. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Mr. Allen, thank you. I don't know if I replied to your last message. Please forgive me. I've had a really shit day at work and really busy one as well. Mark, I hope you're well. Good evening to you. Garino, I see some ITKs are saying Kudus may be a loan deal. Complicated negotiation, and basically we're a shambles at identifying and buying targets. That I've not heard, unless that came out like quite recently. I haven't heard that we're going in for a loan deal for him. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Juha, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Matt. Still a 0-0. It's Man United Wolves, of course it is. Did Lingard? Did Maguire start? He probably is on the bench, isn't he? Who else we got? Good evening to you, Ryan. Thank you for joining, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Lee. How are you? Good evening to you, Zim Hammer. How are you? And to you, NWO. You're early for once. I hope you're well, mate. Thanks for joining. Mr. Bong, how are you? Good evening to you, Steve. I hope you're well. And good evening, Eddie. How are you, mate? And Christopher, how are you? I'm very well. You know I'm always well. Even when I've had a shit day at work, I'm very well. Martin, I hope you're well. Dawson having a good game for Wolves. Oh, imagine. We should go in and sign him, shouldn't we? Someone like Craig Dawson. Imagine. Do you remember the outcry when we brought Dawson in? What the hell's Moyes doing? He became an icon, didn't he? He's a good defender. Maybe some of the players that we might be targeting need to be given a second chance as well, he says, tongue in cheek. Evening, Ian's Clips and Bits. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. I hope all is well. Adam, Lingard is just a money-grabbing scum, only to come to us as nobody else wants him. Apart from Lingard, arse-kissing Moyes. Don't want him, can't stand him. I agree. But I wouldn't be surprised if he actually did come to West Ham United, to be honest with you. Tell D, good evening to you. Ward-Prowse, what a fantastic signing. Will be captain within 2 seasons. You know what? I think Ward-Prowse is a good signing. And that's a good way to start the show because that's the first person I'm going to talk about. And we've heard this morning, James Ward-Prowse signed earlier today. He passed the medical on Friday, signed a contract over the weekend, and it was announced at 9 o'clock this morning. It's a 4-year deal. He takes the number 7 shirt. Quite interesting, that, isn't it? Because, takes it. And he said David Beckham, who famous number 7 shirt, is his idol. He's got a good goal scoring record, Mr. Ward-Prowse. Scoring record decent, 55 goals in 410 senior appearances. For someone who's meant to be a defensive sort of midfielder, that's not bad. 33 of those coming from either the penalty spot or direct free kicks. You know what's coming at West Ham United, don't you? I wouldn't be surprised if he gets us at least 10 goals this season and probably makes at least a 4 or 5 as well. 17 direct free kicks in the Premier League. He's 1 away from equaling David Beckham's record. And who's to say that he won't surpass that? I'll say he almost definitely will. That'd be fantastic. In addition to the 55 goals, he's assisted in 54 goals. That's not a bad return, is it? That's not a bad return. I think he's a decent addition, to be quite honest with you. I think he's a half-decent player. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea. I know people wanted the younger players in, with sell-on value and all that sort of stuff. But sometimes when you think about, someone just mentioned about him, a captain. When you think about, we lost Mark Noble 2 seasons ago, our captain. We lost that bloke that went to North London, a captain. You need a talisman, don't you? You need someone that's going to sort of lead the line. When he take the captain's armband, I don't know. I'm not sure that would be the right thing to do. I think Kurt Zuma, he looked good with the captain's armband at the weekend, and I'd rather give it to someone who's been at the club for a while. But it wouldn't surprise me if he becomes like sort of a backup captain. Last season, I think we had something like 3 backup captains to Declan Rice. And so it wouldn't surprise me if he takes the armband every now and again. Look, apart from being a dead ball specialist, he's got good character about him. He's a good leader. He gets stuck in. He's the sort of no-nonsense footballer that I think David Moyes likes. Okay, we want skill, we want creativity, we want flair. I get that. But sometimes you need that sort of player that comes in and gets amongst it all. That's what we like Paqueta for, isn't it? All right, he's got the skill too, but we also like him because he gets his foot in there. And I think with him and Alvarez, who was announced in the middle of last week, I think it's going to strengthen our midfield somewhat. Now, look, let's be honest. At the weekend, I thought we played really, really well. I thought our midfield was excellent. I think Souček was one of our better players. Pablo Fornals was also excellent in the middle of the park at the weekend. And many of us thought, including myself, that potentially Paqueta wouldn't have been selected for the game. But he was selected and he got stuck in as well. I think our midfield did reasonably well. Well, no, more than reasonably well. I think we did excellent. And for the likes of Alvarez and for Ward-Prowse to come in there's going to be competition. Excuse me one sec. There's going to be competition, of course. And I think that's quite healthy. I think that's quite needed. We need competition in the squad. But at the same time, he's going to add a bit of quality as well. You know, set pieces are likely to be our thing. I did a show this morning about Moyes going back to basics, and it won't surprise me one bit if we do go for the set pieces, etc., etc. And you can see Ward-Prowse playing a prominent role in that type of play. Is it going to be exciting? Probably not. We know it probably won't be exciting, but it will certainly be. It will certainly get us goals. Let's put it that way. Will we be happy? Who knows? You know, sometimes you hear in the past, oh, I don't care, so long as I'm entertained, if we lose 4-3 and all that sort of stuff. And then you hear on the other hand, well, we're down the bottom. Well, you know, if we keep entertaining and not winning, you're going to be down the bottom. So there are going to be times when we're going to have to play scrappily. But Ward-Prowse will give us that set piece profile. I don't think it's a bad deal, to be honest with you. Look, contracted until for 4 years. He'll give us a good 2 or 3 years. He's turning 29 at the later on this year. You know, he'll still be what, 30, 31 if we decide to let him go. Yeah, we won't get £30 million back for him. He might go back to Southampton for maybe 10, 15 million or something like that. But he would have given us 2 or 3 years good service. So I don't know. I think it's all right. Let's talk about the game. Of course, you've all said it. I've already spoken about it. I don't really want to repeat myself too much. But yes, the first half we played very well. We hit the post. We should have been 1 up, maybe 2-0 up. We had the better of it. We scored a goal in the second half. An absolutely superb strike by Jared Bowen. And, it's great, fitting that he was the last player to score for us at the end of last season, the first player to score for us at the beginning of this season. I think he's going to have a good season. He's going to play up front as well. He said in his post-match interview, which I thought was quite interesting, about the sort of the spirit of the players. You know, he talked about, the team should have done more, but they shouldn't have invited pressure. Now, was he talking about the players on the pitch, or was he talking about the tactics? You've got to feel it was about tactics, because as soon as we made the fatal error of scoring, we dropped deep and deeper and deeper and deeper. And you kind of knew it was going to come. You knew at some point in the game that Bournemouth were going to score, because we were virtually on our 18-yard box and dropping deeper and deeper with the odd flurry going. You know, it's funny because we were standing at the end in the second half where we were meant to be attacking. I hardly saw us there. You know, we had 1 or 2 attacks, but nothing like the first half. In the first half, we seemed to be consistently attacking, whereas in the second half, we sat too deep and we invited the pressure. And he also made an interesting statement about the team to suggest that there's probably more solidarity in the squad than we probably think. He said that every single player will run for everyone. The main really good thing about this group is everyone wants to play for this football club. That's an interesting statement. You know, given what we currently hear at the moment, we're constantly hearing negative after negative after negative. And he came out with that statement. I thought, that's interesting. Didn't have to say that. But it's quite interesting. Is he making a statement? What? You know, he said there's a family structure here. We take pride in the shirt. The fans love you for that. We've got a really good group and it's starting to come together. Some of these players do believe in what's happening here. We may not like the tactics. We may not believe in the tactics that David Moyes approaches that uses, but it looks like some of the players want to do what's right for West Ham United. Look, do you think it's perhaps that it's going out to the fans with a statement to say, look, we're here, we hear what's being said on social media, etc., but stick with us and we'll stick with you as well. I don't know. I think it was quite interesting. Right, before I get into the next, but no, let me do the next bit because it's really quite important. I should have started the show with this, and that's about the memorial grounds at the old Boleyn. It was open to the public last Thursday, located, like I said, at the old ground. The design for the new memorial ground was designed by feedback from family members who have family members buried there, and they work closely, West Ham United, with Barrett London, closely on the design principles throughout the whole process. The memorial garden features a special plaque honouring the name, year of birth and year of passing of all the supporters remembered there, as well as a memorial capsule containing special items and plaques dedicated to their memory. Fantastic. About time. It's only taken what? When did we move out of the old stadium? It's taken a bit longer than it should have done, but well done finally for sorting that out. Let's go into your chat. Good evening to you, Tel D. Ward-Prowse, what a fantastic... Yeah, read that one. Sorry. Andy, good evening to you. Evening, Stell. Hope you are very well. Vlasic, little pre-season training starts for Torino tonight. Moy says Alvarez needs a pre-season and won't start him till... It won't be till the end of September. I think he's got to start, hasn't he, on Saturday? At least come on as a sub. End of September, I would be pissed off. Garino. Forest after Sangare, good player. Financial fair play does not apply to anyone. It seems as fines are insignificant by comparison. You're right. I did ask about that. I said, why is it that we make such a big deal about financial fair play? And yet what happens is a club gets fined a little bit of money. And I was told that the fines relate to something that goes back during COVID. So they're kind of like, they're not up to speed or not up to date. And, the fines that the clubs have received recently were about COVID and exaggerating the losses that clubs made. And that's where these small fines have come in. Apparently, the bigger fines are on their way. For example, Man City have still got all these charges against them. I dare say the likes of Chelsea who are spending money, Arsenal, Aston Villa, etc. That makes a big difference when a club is in Europe. It's a lot tighter. Financial fair play becomes a lot tighter. But you're right, in a way. All these clubs are spending so much money, and yet it seems okay. Good evening to you, Ralph. What's happened? Have we signed Lingard? Not yet. No, not yet. Moyes has no pride, want him gone. Rupert, at long last, though, you've seen the light about Moyes. It only took you to 18 months. Nearly choked on my food when I saw your post earlier. See you Sunday at 1. Sunday? See you Sunday at 1? The game's on Saturday, mate. So you come down Sunday. That's all right, mate. You do that. Obsidian. Kudus or Lingard? Who will Moyes choose? Hopefully both, and I'll explain why later. Matt, Steve, can't lie because I'm a mug. I'll take on a year of any unpopular today. I'll take him on a year. I'm an unpopular. You take him on? I don't know. I don't think I want him. Schmiegel, I hope you're well, mate. What have I missed? Nothing much, really. Just talked about the game very, very briefly and about the signing of Ward-Prowse. Moyes would leave his wife for Lingard given half the chance. Sigh. Maguire is just arguing about severance pay. That is the hold up. Well, not quite, because apparently I thought that was sorted last week. When I did the show this time last week, I talked about the severance pay and that we were going to pay half the severance for him. But it seems now that Ten Hag is also sort of worried because he wants a replacement before he lets him go. Couldn't make it up, could you? Oliver, good evening to you. Paqueta goes. Cole Palmer and Mo Kudus in would be nice. Apparently, Cole Palmer has said he doesn't want to come to West Ham. So it looks like if Man City want Paqueta, it's got to be a money-only deal by the sounds of it. Mark, I hope you're well, mate. Welcome, JWP and Lingard in training with West Ham. We know. Everybody knows. Good evening, Matt Lover. West Ham should go for Osimhen of Napoli. Absolutely no chance. Although you're absolutely right. It would love him to come to West Ham United, but I'm not so sure we'll stand any chance. Gual boy, good evening to you. We could do without ultra egoists like Lingard and Maguire. We might have both. And Adam, JWP heard we wanted him and wanted to play for us. That's the sort of players we want playing for us, not the money. See us and money grabbers who see us as our last chance. Yeah, I agree. Well, it's good that Ward-Prowse wants to come, and I want other players who want to come and play for West Ham United as well. Kalispera Filomno. I'm very well. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Good evening to you, Hammerhead. McLover, you're joking. He's like 130 million. Yeah. Mind you, we do have that money if we sell Paqueta. Strange things could happen. Hammerett, not popular, but I think Mingard isn't a bad option until January. We need goal contributors and can't rush Paqueta's replacement. New signings will take months to produce anything. He is a free agent. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. Drainhole, good evening to you. Once we scored, Moyes pulled back the team. He sure did. Shocking. We may need the goal dig at the end of the season. The goal difference at the end of the season. Yeah, true. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be as bad as that. Good evening to you, John. I'm 5 minutes late and still has started. Did someone buy him a watch? There you go. Sharky, I was surprised to see Areola start. Didn't think Moyes was starting. likewise, I was surprised. But I'm so pleased that he did. He's fine. He's waited 2 years to become our number one. And then what does Moyes do? He gave that warning. I don't remember him doing that with Fabianski, giving them warning. Yeah, no, he's got the shirt now, but one mistake. I mean, mate, talk about putting him in on tender hooks. It's like I'm watching you. I'm watching you. Oh, Fabianski made a mistake. Oh, yeah, it's all right, but we know about Fabianski. Areola, you make a mistake and you're out, boy. You're out. I mean, but yeah, I'm glad, to be quite honest with you. And I think Areola played all right. I think he pulled off some decent saves in that game. Bradley, I hope you're well, mate. See you on Saturday, hopefully. I hope you're well. Montana, good evening to you. I doubt this Kudus still. We move very slowly in the market. We don't have a lot of time to move. There's only 18 days left in the market, so we need to get a move on. I like the sound of him. When I did my research on him earlier on, I thought, this is a decent player. Didn't know anything about him, to be quite honest with you. Eamon, I'm holding my judgment until the transfer window closes. Good lad. I think sometimes that's the best thing to do. Good evening to you, Cyber. Hi, everyone. Everyone saw JW. You saw him? Fantastic. Well done. Good evening to you, Lawrence. I hope you're well. Moyes wants another snip. God, Nicholas. Good evening, old man. I hope you're well. Good evening, Black Country. How are you, mate? John, does anyone know if Lingard found his watch at Rush Green? That's the only logical reason to return. David Russell, I'm going to try and keep up with the chat tonight. So I'm going to catch up and then I'll do the next bit of the show. David, I hope you're well. I hope Maguire stays at Man United and we get Tar or someone similar. Kudus could be great with or without Paqueta. I totally agree with that. Even if we don't let Paqueta go, I've got a theory. I don't think it's reliant on Paqueta going. Kudus signing. It's not reliant on him. I don't think they're a different player. Paqueta plays deep midfield. Think about it, people. Paqueta plays deep midfield. Kudus, or however you want to pronounce his name. I can't pronounce names, even though my one's as bad as the others. Kudus doesn't play deep midfield. He plays out wide. He can play defensive midfield. He can play box-to-box midfielder. He can also play and prominently plays attacking midfield. He also plays up front. I don't think it's got anything to do with Paqueta going. Peter. Shame we don't get into opponents' half enough to win many free kicks to take full advantage of JWP. I hope JWP can do one of those, like those American footballers where they have to, do what's that kick that they do? Maybe JWP can kick the ball from the middle of our half, into the opposition's half. That might be the only way we're going to get a free kick. David, we need numbers for our Europa campaign. That's a good point. We do. We've got a decent squad. We need to add to it. Ironically, though, with the number of players likely to leave, we might end up with a smaller squad, but it might be more quality. And the show I did this morning about going back to basics, I sort of alluded to maybe David Moyes wants the type of squad that he had in not last season, but the season before last, a smaller squad, but a squad of players that he could really trust. And maybe that's the way he's going. Maybe. Might be wrong. Philip, it's actually quite entertaining now, this transfer circus. We might actually come out stronger than we all expected. Yeah, it's quite possible. Jason, hello to you, mate. Lingard come in on a pay-as-you-pay. Let's see how much he wants it. Pay him 10K. We'll see how many he gets. Make all his performances related bonuses. I want to see how hungry. That's a really good shout. But he won't take it because the Saudis are coming offer him £1 million a day to go and play football over there. Christopher, saw a tweet saying Moyes thought Forest didn't play Lingard in his favoured position. Couldn't believe it's coming from Moyes, who's famous for that here. The irony, the absolute irony, incredible. Oh, that means he's signing, isn't it? Keith, if the Lingard thing is true, then Moyes has shown his dissent for us fans and the team. A man with no integrity or honour. He doesn't care what we think. You know that. The way he talks, he doesn't care whether we like his getting someone like Lingard back or not. He doesn't give a damn. He will do what he thinks is right. If he thinks it's right to get Lingard in, he won't give a toss about the fans. Now, maybe, just maybe, Sullivan might turn around and go, you can't do it, we're not having him. Maybe. But then they've agreed to let their Lingard train with them, which is really, really odd. Sharky, any donkey's heads? I don't do that. I don't do donkey's heads. No player in my squad is a donkey, no matter how bad they are. Well, apart from when Masuaku was with us. The Bournemouth game turned out the same way I thought. Only difference is we scored. Well, we were out there last time, when last season, we smashed them 4-0. You know, we should have won that game. We should have won that game. We were the better team. We had the better of the whole game, etc. And we sat back. Really, really frustrating. Peter, looks like Chelsea want to buy players to stop them going to other clubs. Let them. Who cares? Good evening to you, James. I hope you're well. I really do enjoy. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. And thank you again. I'm really looking forward to the Chelsea game. JWP, Alvarez, good signings. Hope for a few more players. That's so long as they are on the pitch and not sitting on the sidelines going, Mr. Moyes, when are we going to be ready? Daniela, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Maguire started and was subbed off. Was he? Did he start that game? No. Maybe he's not going anywhere. And he was subbed off. Are they in the second half yet? Or I don't know. How long's the game been? Must be over by now. J8, good evening to you. I tell Maguire, sorry, you're no longer wanted, and don't get me started on Lingard. Good evening, Mandy. How are you? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Who else we got? So, Anthony. Stel, you missed a load of messages. You're getting about an hour ahead of yourself. You've nearly finished them. Have I? Did I miss? I don't think I did. I tried not to. I'm nowhere near. You wrote that half an hour ago. On the referees. What do you think about referees added time? You know, we might have 10 minutes added on to games and stuff like that. Exciting. But, you know, we all moan about time wasting. Here's the answer. As soon as someone time wastes, it's just going to be added on. Sharky Wolf should be winning this game easily. Interesting. Jason, gift or ban when we played Ghent was awesome. I say we'll get him. Moyes played very well for Ghent and Young. Rate him a lot. There's another player that I rate even more. I didn't think much of him when he played against us, to be quite honest with you, but I hear he is a very good player. Garino, Kudus has a lot of agents and other parties involved. There you go, making it difficult. Usually Brighton are good at such deals, hence the large number of South Americans they buy, but even they pulled out. Yes, they did put in 35 million for him and pulled out. And we know Sullivan hates agents. He hates dealing with them, especially when the agents come up when a deal's done or you think it's done, and they go, we just need another sweetener in order to get this one over the line. So maybe that may not happen. That would be a damn shame, to be quite honest with you. Juha, I think Lingard is a clue that Moyes will leave in a year's time for real. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Mr. Moyes, can you tell us any more about Lingard or anyone else? I hope. Thank you for joining. Corky, good evening to you. Maguire is definitely leaving on the bench, and Lindelof has come on for Martinez, so he didn't start. Okay. Well, Aston Villa are in for him as well, so maybe he'll go there. John Paul, good evening to you. If it was me, I would be saying, Maguire, are you coming or not? Move. It's like Declan Rice going on and on. He wants to sit on the bench at United. All the best to him if that's what he wants. If that's what he wants and earns 190 grand a week doing it. Yeah, Martin. Evening to you, mate. Please tell me it's a joke about Lingard coming. Look, he's training with the first team. That doesn't mean he's coming. Rumor has it Moyes wants De Gea, Maguire, McTominay, all the Man United players, Charlton Law as well. Let's scroll down. Good evening, John. Maguire is top class for England. I've changed my mind. I hope we sign the English centre half for 30 mil. In all honesty, I've said this several times before, to be quite honest with you. The sort of players that we've been linked to throughout this summer, Gallagher, McTominay, James Ward-Prowse, Maguire, etc., in their own right, they're all decent players. They're all pretty decent. Do I want all of them? No. I would rather have a bit of a mix, you know, a few experienced players by all means, but bring in some fresh blood, bring in some young legs, bring in some players that have got engines in them that are going to be able to run and run and run. When you get a mix, that's okay. When you go too far the other way, I'm not so sure. Garino, as someone said, you could argue we owe Jesse a deal. Him turning us down brought us Paqueta, a European trophy, and £50 million profit on Paqueta a year later. Very good point. Yeah, that's a positive, isn't it? Drainhole. Still, a captain at a club should show new layers the way of our club. Should show new players the way of our club and teach them what our club is all about. Yeah, I agree. I think all this stories about, you know, if Maguire signs, he'll be given the captain's armband or it might go to JWP. Look, they're both they were captains in their own right, captains for their clubs and all that sort of stuff. But I think it should be, someone that's been at the club for a while. And I don't mind with Zuma getting the captain's armband for the season. Dean, I hope you're well. Is there any way you could explain what the recruitment plan is? I'd be really grateful. For the life of me, I have no idea. We have a top technical director. We're all over the place as he has no power. Well, I wish I could explain it to you, because we were led to believe when Steiden came in that I did a video. I did this. Steiden could be our most important signing of the summer, but that just hasn't materialized. What it is, from what we understand, is Moyes was told, he was consulted that we were getting a technical director in, but he basically turned around and said, I've won you a trophy. I've kept you up in the Premier League. I still want to be in control of transfers. The problem that Sullivan made was going, yeah, all right, because Steinen's come in. It's like, now, well, what's he doing now? We do believe he is getting involved in transfers. He has got a role to play. And apparently there are, all these stories that are going out that, they're in a disagreement about signings, etc. Doesn't seem to have materialized. If you read the interview with Alvarez last week, the first person that he thanked was Tim Steiden, talking to him about the club, etc., etc. Now, everyone says, oh, it was Mark Noble that first found him and all this sort of stuff. I don't know. I almost don't care who found the player. So long as they come to West Ham United and they play well, I don't care if it's the tea lady that found them. But I think Steinen's got a role. I think what will happen, it looks to me that we might have money left over. If Paqueta goes, and we do have quite a hoard of money, it looks like we may not end up spending it in this summer transfer window. We might get enough for what we need, but then moving forward into January, etc., that's when Steinen's going to have more say in the transfers. That's my understanding. But he is getting involved, and I think there are discussions going on about players, etc. I think Steiden isn't just sitting there twiddling his thumbs. We were all asking ourselves what's happening. I think Steiden has got a role to play, and it's an understanding, isn't it? Moyes has got to understand how Steiden works and vice versa. And you kind of almost see, look, Steiden comes in with a good reputation, but he comes in with a reputation of finding players in the German league. For German football clubs, sorry. And it's going to take him time to understand what's needed in the Premier League. So I kind of get it. I don't agree with it. I would have liked Steiden to hit the ground running, but I kind of agree that Steiden's probably taking a back seat for the moment, understanding the surroundings, understanding what's going on, understanding how the Premier League works, etc., and he'll get more involved. I don't know if I've explained that well or not. Good evening to you, Eddie. I hope you're well. I love the Ward-Prowse signing. Now we need Kudus to come in and win those free kicks, and someone, not Maguire, to head in those chances. Yeah, I hope the Kudus thing happens, even if it is a loan, if not a straight deal. Irons Lady, Benny back on the bench weekend. He didn't play very well. If there's one player that disappointed us at the weekend, it was Ben Rama. Unfortunately, he looked a little bit out of sorts, to be quite honest with you. John, I'm so unhappy. I posted something about Lingard earlier on Facebook and still agreed with me. That can't be right. There are times when things like that happen. Steve, JWP actually wanted to join us. Maguire doesn't move on. I agree. I absolutely agree. Russell. The rumor around these parts is that West Ham are thinking of taking on Kieran Tierney. Heard that as well. Now, it's interesting because now I'm hearing that we're probably only going to sign 2 more players in this window, maybe regardless of who goes, and it may not be a left back. Conan, good evening to you. I swear you're basically our therapist now. I worry less after watching the show. I'm still bricking it for the season, though. Don't brick it. It'll all be absolutely fine. Jason, Souček not held back by Rice now. Did say it. I was mocked when I said it a season and a half ago. I was mocked. But now we might see the old Souček back. I said on here the other week, he can get back to his best. Guy is a powerhouse when attacking and confident. Absolutely. I totally agree. Varane's just scored, so they're 1-0 up. David, now he's here. We'll please. We've got Ward-Prowse. Seems to have got a great attitude. Wants to play for us. Unlike Maguire. 100% agree. Right. Why don't I stop there and go into other bits of the show? So what else have I got for you? You're going to love this next bit. I know you do. You always love it because I'm going to talk about just very briefly. If you want to go and make a cup of tea now, now's your chance. But I'm going to talk about the women's team. First of all, congratulations to, I still won't be able to pronounce her name, Dagny Brinjanstatir, who's confirmed the wonderful news that she's expecting her second child and she's going to miss the whole season. She's the women's team captain. The women's team started their pre-season at the weekend when they played Charlton and got absolutely thumped 5-0. Thank goodness there's still 6 weeks to go before that league starts. Staying on the women's team, we've got a player, Mackenzie Arnold, who's our West Ham number one. She played in the game against France at the weekend and got her team, Australia, through to the women's semi-finals. And guess who they play in the semi-finals? England, of course, which happens on Wednesday. But congratulations to her. Right, what about other teams? The under-21s, their season kicked off at the weekend. Not so great. Many of the under-18s who won the under-18s league and the FA Youth Cup, etc., have now migrated to the under-21 team. But they received a bit of a baptism of fire, unfortunately, where they lost their first league match away to Arsenal. They had a decent display, decent performance in the first half, but all 3 Arsenal goals came in the second half. Let's hope under Mark Robson, the young lads put that behind them, and when they host Sunderland at Rush Green. I don't buy into. I'm not convinced by Mark Robson, to be quite honest with you. I've said this a few times before. When the previous under-21s coach was there, Halajko, he seemed to gel the under-21s a lot better. There's talk about Mark Robson leaving. I don't know if that's true. Assistant is going to become assistant manager somewhere. Someone may remember which team. I'm not so. I don't know. I know the under-21s and the under-18s are not about results. I know it's about development and all that. I get it. But I don't think they've done really well under Robson. Anyway, the under-18s were in action as well. They kicked off their season and they also lost against Arsenal, but this time 2-0. Look, I guess for both the academy and the development teams, it's going to be a time of transition. There's, like I said, a lot of the under-18s have moved up to under-19, under-21s now, and a lot of under-16s, under-17s, etc., have now moved into the under-18s. So it's going to be at a bit of a transition time. Right, what else? We've got some players out on loan. First of all, Christian Heggie starred in an incredible penalty shootout last week in the EFL League. The EFL League One players knocked out Championship outfit Watford in the Carabao Cup. So well done to him. He pulled off a couple of fine saves in a normal time, which the game ended 1-1. And then he was a hero in the penalty shootout by saving one of the penalties. So well done to him. We've got midfielder Freddie Potts made his second straight start for the League One side Wycombe Wanderers, as his side last week progressed to the second round, winning 2-0 in the Carabao Cup over the MK Dons. And then Potts made his third start in a row at the weekend. But unfortunately, Wycombe couldn't win that game. They lost 3-0 against Lincoln. They're down at the bottom now. I know the season's only just started. Also, full debut for in the Carabao Cup went to Kamari Swire, who plays for League Two, who's on loan at League Two side Crawley Town. They played against Exeter City, which they won, but Exeter won 2-0. Swire was an unused sub at the weekend back in the league, where Crawley drew 1-1 with Salford City. Right, and the last player that we've got out on loan is Nathan Trott. Now, he's playing in the Danish Superliga with Vejle BK. Not a great time of it, unfortunately. They suffered a defeat to Midtjylland at the weekend. That's their fourth defeat in a row, and they're now sitting bottom of the league. They've only just been promoted. Poor old Nathan Trott. Not a good time for him at the moment. Right, I'm going to go into transfer news in a minute, but before I do that, I want to catch up with your chat, because now I am half an hour behind. Good evening to you, Scarlet Rose. That's a new name. If it's not, my apologies for not seeing you before. Moyes is the only one who wants Maguire. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, by the way. Maguire don't want to come, and we don't want him to come. Let's go and get a decent Italian defender. Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I'm going to talk about the transfers in a moment. Garino. Moyes is just trying to get the band back together. He wants it to be like the Beatles, but it's going to get a new drummer. Hammers Mikey. Poor Fornals, pumped to the bench now or flung out in the wing by Moyes because JWP is coming. You know what? I think Fornals had a great game at the weekend, to be quite honest with you. I think he was, he could see He shines in the middle of the park. And I just hope he's not thrown out on the left side. I think it'd be a damn shame. Usual. Maguire has a face like a slapped arse sitting on the bench tonight. Well, that's where he wants to be, earning 190 grand a week doing it. But he doesn't want to come to West Ham. Maybe he should go. I don't know. I think he'll be good for West Ham, but I don't want Moyes to waste the rest of the transfer window waiting for him. Lee, good evening to you, mates. Has Lingard found his watch yet? Hello, my fellow Hammers. Hope you're all keeping sane. We're massive. Hit the like button. Thank you, mate. Like I said earlier on, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button and the bell notification to let you know when I'm next on. It does help the channel, and that would be wonderful if you would do that. Jason, going for Gallagher if Paqueta goes. Chelsea will have massive financial fair play problems who need to balance the books. 115 mil is massive for a player after the money they chucked about of late. It is mad. They've just signed Casado, haven't they? I mean, the money that's being spent by so few clubs is weird. Montana. Gallagher said no, Jason. I'm good with the additions. Gallagher did say no. That's fine. That's fine. He's a Chelsea boy. He didn't want to come. That's absolutely fine. So we go and look for other players, and I'm going to talk about those in a moment. Shaky. Nice one still. It's refreshing to hear an upbeat podcast. All the doom and gloom on the other channels it is what it is. I've got my ways and people don't like my ways. I'm a bit too bloody cheery sometimes. Mind you talk to my mates when we go to the games, they wouldn't say I'm like that when I'm at the games. IP Dex, good evening to you. Moyes didn't buy Alvarez, therefore Moyes won't play Alvarez. Have you just started watching us? Look, I tell you, I get you. Moyes apparently did agree to Alvarez. He was one of the targets that Moyes wanted. Let's see what happens, because if he doesn't play him, then I think we're going to suffer quicker. Still, the game Sunday. Is the game Sunday? Oh, I'll look it up later. Fuck me. I was going to go to the game on Saturday. No wonder what's his name said. Oh, dear. I got it wrong, Rupert. We'll see you on Sunday. Vasilis Tiganis, how are you? Still, best wishes from Thessalonica. Efharistopoli. Thank you very much for joining and watching, and wonderful, good international crowd here. Epic. Still on Saturday, where is... Do you know what? I thought it was 4:30 on Saturday. There you go. There you go. I'll be there 27 hours early. Sorry, Rupert. Schmiegel, I heard Moyes and Steiden had another argument recently. Steiden recommended Odilon Kasunu from Leverkusen, who has some of the best tackling stats in Europe, but Moyes would rather sign Maguire. Moyes would rather sign Maguire for now, but there is a deadline on when he... I know everyone's telling me the game's on Sunday. My fault. Really, I didn't realise. Actually, that buys me some time, because I told the missus I had to do something on Saturday. Now it means I make her happy by doing the things she wants to do on Saturday. Go to the game on Sunday. Wonderful news. Chippy, good evening to you. Or Chip, good evening to you. Marouane Fellaini, Phil Neville and Ross Barkley have been seen training in Moyes' backyard. Andy, if I don't make a mistake in the show, it's not one of my shows, don't you? Andy, still going on to a Chelsea game there Saturday, and the game starts at 4:30 on Sunday. There you go. I was wrong. Rupert was right. That's not often that happens. NWO. Think Maguire would do okay for us, just defending Megahead. I think he would do okay if he comes to us, without a doubt. Ed, Lingard used to have a watch like the one. Carl, good evening to you. Best Hammer channel. Thank you, man. I do appreciate it. I'm humbled. Someone gave me a $5 there. It came up and it's disappeared. Actually, you know what? Let me have a look. Anthony, thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. Really, honestly, I don't expect it. I don't ask for it. I think, but thank you very much for giving me that donation. Really appreciate it. YouTube will get £4.45 of that, and I'll get the rest of it. But I'm kidding. I'm down at the bottom. Right, I can go into the next part of the show then. So why don't we do that? Where are we? There. Right, let's get into the transfer news, shall we? Because that's what's keeping us all awake at the moment. There are loads of transfer stories out there, quite clearly. A number of players that we've been linked to. Today, we've been linked to Rennes midfielder Lovro Meha, who's a Croatian international. Apparently, he would be another target that we're going for if Paqueta leaves. Don't believe that. But someone mentioned it a moment ago about the Bayer Leverkusen player, Odilon Kasunu. Now, Moyes hasn't said no to that because that really does depend on what happens with Maguire. Moyes, yes, would rather have Maguire. That's without a shadow of a doubt. But it's like the longer it lingers, the less likely it's going to happen. But in reality, look, the really main transfer stories that are carrying any substance at the moment are really just two players. And the board have stated, I get my catch up with dear old Sean, and I say, so give me something I can hang on to in the show, etc. And he said, look, at this moment in time, the board have said that we're only looking to sign two players at the moment. Doesn't seem to matter how many go, and I'll explain that in a moment. But at the moment, at this moment in time, we're looking to sign a defender, a central defender, and we're looking to sign a forward. And I went, oh, striker. And then Sean went, no, I was told it's going to be an attacking player, a forward, not necessarily a striker. So bear that in mind for a moment. Look, 18 days left in the transfer window, 2 signings in. It's fairly obvious West Ham should really sign at least another 4 players. You know, if we lose all the players that we're, being told that we're going to lose, we still need a centre-back to replace Craig Dawson, who we didn't replace last January. If Creswell goes, you would argue we'd need a left-back. You know, with Scamacca gone and almost definitely Antonio going, you'd argue we need a striker. And then, of course, we need a midfielder if Paqueta goes. But look, I don't think all the players that we're talking about are going to be replaced. Aaron Creswell, he's back in training. He's still training alone. Wolves still now want him. Gary O'Neill has come out and said, I'm going to put a bid in for him. Apparently, the first time that they were interested, they wanted to take him on a free with kind of add-ons. You know, if we stay in the league, we'll give you, I don't know, $500,000. If this happens, we'll give you so much, and so on and so forth. And West Ham said, no, we're not letting him go for nothing. He's still got a year left on his contract. So now it looks like Gary O'Neill, if they can find the money, they will sign Aaron Creswell before the window shuts. But like I said, we may not necessarily replace him. Who else? Flynn Downs. We know he's going on loan now to Southampton. He's asked for more game time. He hasn't been guaranteed that by Mr. Moyes, as usual. And it looks like he's going to be joining his old manager, Russell Martin, who managed him at Swansea. Martin thinks the world of him. You know, one of the reasons why we signed Flynn Downs was because he had the best percentage passes in the Championship in the season that he played for Swansea. So it looks like he's going to be teaming up with Russell Martin again at Southampton. I'm quite glad it's a loan deal because I was worried that we were going to sell this player. And I thought to myself, you know what? He did have a number of games. Anytime he was on the pitch, bit lightweight, but still learning his trade. You know, every time he was on the pitch, he didn't really let us down that much. And if you remember, there were times that he was played as a number 10 rather than as sort of a defensive midfielder. So I think going out on loan, giving him a year out at Southampton, and then coming back, hopefully refreshed, Moyes will be gone. Whoever's the new manager at West Ham might give him a chance to really stake a claim in the senior team next season. Mikel Antonio, he's got offers. People have said it in the chat, etc. A number of clubs are in for him. Forest are interested. Everton are interested. The Saudis are offering in something like £9 million for a 2-year deal. Despite the club saying they don't want to let him go, I think they might be, given what we might be getting, might turn around and go, do you know what? Let's take the money and let him go. Lucas Paqueta, obviously, you know, the saga keeps going on. And I was asked I did a show last week and I said he's definitely going. I think it was Ed, who said to me, oh, well, you know, you're the one that tells us not to believe what's going on, etc. All these stories. Now you're saying he's definitely going. And look, as it stands right now, my understanding of what's happened so far is that Man City have come to West Ham and said, if we were to offer you around about £70 million for the player, would you accept it? And West Ham United said no, we wouldn't entertain that. And I think Moyes alluded to that. You know, we haven't had an offer that's made our head wobble or something, he said at the weekend. So at this moment, we were looking at the potential of West Ham getting money and Cole Palmer in a deal. It looks like now Cole Palmer doesn't want to come to West Ham United. So if Manchester City want him, it's going to have to be money only. I think quite possibly 80 million with 5 million virtually guaranteed add-ons is likely to see the player go. Now, all the ITKs, etc., are saying that an agreement's been made. Financial terms have been agreed with the player. I don't know if that is really true. I guess maybe they're speaking to the agent, and I guess they're saying to the agent, if we buy Paqueta, we'll give him 250 grand a week or whatever it may be with bonuses. I'm sure that sort of conversation has been had with his entourage. I think he will go. I still think he will go. I think it will happen. I think once you've had your head turned, it's difficult, isn't it? And even Moyes said it at the weekend, when clubs like Man City come in, there are only a few clubs in the world like that, etc., etc. It'll be an absolute shame to see Paqueta go, I think, because with the kind of players that we're looking at potentially bringing in, especially the forward that I'm going to talk about in a minute, I think he would love that. I really do. But it's unfortunate. I think he will go. Now, I talked about Cresswell. I didn't finish that story, to be quite honest with you. I talked about Cresswell and I said, look, it's quite likely that we may not, we'll get to the Cresswell clip. I said it's quite likely if he leaves, we may not buy anyone. Now, that's because the club thinks, or David Moyes thinks, there are 3 players that can play in that role, in the left-back role. There's Emerson, of course, goes without saying. There's the much forgotten about Ben Johnson, who, if you remember, seems to play an awful lot better on the left side of defence than he does either in central or on the right side. So there's Ben Johnson. And there's also Naif Gerd, who could also play in the left-back role. Look, he played in that position a few times as a young player. It's not something that he's done that often, but it's quite possible if we do get another centre-back, if, let's say, for argument's sake, we do get Maguire, it's quite possible that you might see a Gerd playing in the left-back berth. Right. What about the forwards then? What else have we got? Well, I've said Antonio could be going. He's had a number of offers, and it looks like West Ham United might be willing to let him go. Right. So what about Mr. Lingard? Look, we've heard it all today. He's training with the first team. He's got a flat. I don't know if you remember my saying a few seasons ago when Moyes, or last summer, in fact, when Moyes was trying to get Lingard, he was trying to sort of, apparently Lingard had an apartment in the same building as Moyes. Of course he has. In Canary Wharf. And they're good friends. They're sort of like, they get on, even though we didn't manage to sign him, etc. He's still kept in contact with Lingard. And now that Lingard is a free agent, he's been invited to come back and train with West Ham United. But don't rush into assumptions. You can almost see it happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen. It's the sort of thing that could, this is a scenario that could be had. Moyes, I'll offer you a short-term contract. Okay, boss, I'll think about it. Procrastinate. Oh, you know what? I've just been offered £1 million to scratch my ass in Saudi. I'll take that instead. That's probably what might happen. But there's a faint chance that Lingard could be offered a short-term deal until January. And I'm going to tell you the reason what I'm telling you the theory that I've got in just a moment. Other people, I put a post up on Facebook earlier today, and I said I don't want him. To be quite honest with you, he's had his chance. I don't want him. He spent a year. He spent a year in football doing nothing for Nottingham Forest. Didn't have a great season. That must have depressed him. Mind you, he's got all the money to count. And I think that by being out of the game, for me, he was virtually out of the game last season for the way that he was used at Forest. But that's not Forest's fault. That's the players' fault. The players' fault for not being up for the for it. So I think it's a gamble. Even if we do give him a short-term deal, I think it's a gamble. But the theory is that he could be used for other reasons as well, which I'll explain in a minute. A short temporary contract until January, will see us through to the January transfer window. He might then get other offers as well. He'd have to take a substantial pay cut in order to come to West Ham United. It'll be nothing like the deal that he was offered at Forest. There's just no way. To be fair, I don't want him back. But if he comes back, let's see what happens. Still only 30 years of age. He can certainly offer the club a good half a season, maybe, just like he did when he came on loan to us a couple of years ago. But for me, there are better players around. If you're going to take the gamble, rather than take the gamble on Lingard, why don't you go for the other players that we're linked to? And of course, the big story today, as all of you have been talking about already, is the link to Mohammed Kudus, who is, it's a serious link. We've been told it's a serious link. Look, last week I was waxing lyrical about Yusuf Fofana and what a fantastic player he'd be for us. And then when I did my research about Kudus today, to be honest with you, an altogether very different proposition. Look, apparently the story goes when we were scouting Alvarez over in Ajax, Kudus caught the eye, and it was considered that it would be worth seeing if we can go in for a deal for him. Now, someone already said Brighton went in for a 35 million deal. They pulled out because of the agents and all that stuff. So that might be the thing that might knock us back a bit. You know, if agents start playing silly buggers, we might walk away from it. Sullivan is renowned for doing that. If he thinks the agents are taking the piss, he'll walk away. But he could be a replacement. And I said earlier in the show, I don't think it will matter whether Paqueta goes or not. I don't think it would matter. And I think even if Paqueta stays, Kudus could be someone that we'd still sign, because he wouldn't be replacing Paqueta. He'd be replacing Mikel Antonio. Mikel Antonio, as I said a moment ago, has got offers out there. The 23-year-old Ghanaian is able to play in a number of positions. Think about this. What did we all want Antonio to play? Out wide. He can play out wide. He can play defensive midfield. He can play that central box-to-box midfielder. He can also play attacking midfield, and he can play as a striker. In fact, his stats over his time in Ajax, the most games he's played has been out wide on the right and also up front. Now, David Moyes suggested at the weekend that he might use Jared Bowen more centrally. What better way then than to do that, to have a player that will sort of replace him out wide? And Kudus can do that. Of course, it could be the other way. Bowen can stay out wide and Kudus could be played up front. He plays as a striker. He plays as an attacking midfielder. And it's quite interesting. Look, he joined from Danish club Nordland in 2018. He originally started at Nordland in 2018. Within 2 years, he was snapped up by Ajax for £7 million. In his time, he's made 84 appearances, 24 goals, 11 assists. Last season alone, 42 appearances, 18 goals, 7 assists, and 4 of those goals were in the Champions League. In those 42 appearances, he's played as an attacking midfielder 9 times, and on the right wing 17 times, and up front 16 times. He could be the Antonio replacement. So if we've got an offer in for Antonio, like I said, I don't think it's going to matter whether Paqueta goes or not, because this is the man that could quite potentially take over from Antonio. His versatility will be appealing to David Moyes, and there are so many other similarities to Antonio. He's got pace to burn, which Antonio kind of still has. He can take on opponents and beat them for pace. He can sometimes have an awkward first touch, shades of Antonio, but his physical ability allows him to maintain possession even under pressure. Antonio used to be able to do that. His physical presence can also work as a target man, running the flanks, and he will be ideal for that. Who else does that or did that? Antonio. I think the difference to him is that Antonio and his dribbling skills are not something that you would, admire. Whereas this player, he's got a good touch. He's got a good touch with the ball, good dribbling skills, and is an excellent finisher, a clinical finisher with either foot, with an excellent shooting range. His decision making sometimes up front in the latter third can leave a lot to be desired, but he's 23. So you could argue still learning his game. Now, it's suggested that he's not quite ready yet for the elite clubs. Clubs like, I think Liverpool have been interested in him, but they don't seem to have made a move. Other clubs have shown an interest, but the scouting theory is that he's not quite ready for the elite clubs. So coming to West Ham United, this sounds like Steiden written all over it. Coming to West Ham United at the age of 23 sounds like the perfect move for him. Now, I said in my show the other day, we're going to have to kind of get used to being a selling club, because we'll get a player like this. He'll stay for a season or two, and then he probably will be sold for a profit, so long as The only difference at the moment is to say that approach and Brighton's is the minute Brighton sells someone, they've normally got a ready-made replacement to come in and replace the player that they've sold for a massive profit. Once we get that infrastructure in place, we won't be so worried about buying a player and then seeing him go. Do I like it? If it's look at Brighton, we all admire the way Brighton do their business. We all admire the way that Brighton play their football, finishing so high up in the league, etc. We all sometimes we say, if only we were like Brighton, and maybe this is the way forward. Buying players like Kudus at a young age, getting him to play well, a couple of seasons in at West Ham, and then you might see, if he does well, you might then see the elite clubs going after him. Look, so like I said, it's regardless of the Paqueta deal, we've still got, even without selling Paqueta or anyone else at the moment, we've still got something like 70 odd million pounds in the transfer key. And that leaves, if we pay around about 35 million for Kudus, that still leaves us with a sizable amount of money to bring in other players in other areas. Could we sign both Kudus and Lingard? Here comes my theory. Call me mad if you want. We know that David Moyes likes taking time to bed players in. We know that, don't we? People have alluded to, we might not see Alvarez until September, etc., etc. So we know that buying a 23-year-old from abroad, Moyes is going to go, I'll buy you. Yeah, I think you might have potential, but I'm not sure I'm going to play you every week. And here's the theory with Lingard. You bring Lingard in for a short-term deal, for up to say the January transfer window. Kudus could learn off someone like Lingard, if Lingard's on form, of course, and Kudus could come on, give Lingard a respite and other players, etc. So Moyes might, if he buys Lingard, if he buys Lingard, if he signs Lingard, he could sign Lingard on a short-term deal and give Kudus a bit of game time, not 3 minutes like he does with Cornet, for God's sake, but, give him a decent amount of game time. And then by the time the January transfer window comes, and Lingard is on his merry way, fingers crossed, Kudus will be established within the team. That's my theory. I don't know. Am I wrong? Am I stupid? You tell me. I'm sure you will. And the last bit of transfer news is, of course, as we've already talked about, Harry Maguire. Now, I said at the start of the show, he's been given a deadline. I haven't been told what that deadline is, but my estimation will be till around about Wednesday. West Ham United have turned around and said, if we can't do a deal by Wednesday, we're moving on. And that's where you might start seeing other players linked to us. Someone mentioned about the Fiorentina defender earlier on, and maybe the Bayer Leverkusen Kudus defender, etc. That's where we may certainly have some backups if we don't do a deal with Maguire. I'm guessing it's going to be around Wednesday. And if we don't agree to it, then he will be gone. Now, people are saying, what's the hold-up? Well, as I said last week, we thought that the hold-up had been sorted out. Apparently, Maguire would have earned something like about £9 million extra if he stays on his 190 grand a week contract for the next 2 years at Man United. So let me rephrase that. If he moved from that contract, he'd lose about £9 million over the course of 2 years. Now, my understanding last week was that we made an agreement with Man United that we'll split that cost. So we'd pay £30 million for the player, plus about another £4 million on top to cover his lost wages. So basically, you're paying £34 million for the player. And we thought now we keep being told that's still a hold up. Well, I thought that was agreed last week. It seems that Ten Hag wants to get another player in before he agrees to letting Maguire go. So basically, Ten Hag has got until maybe the middle of this week to sort that out. And if he says, okay, you can buy Maguire, Maguire will come. If we don't, then we go on, we move on and we look at other players. Right, let's go into your chat because now I am half an hour behind as well. Again, Daniela, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain has joined Turkish side Besiktas following his release at Liverpool at the end of last season. Thank goodness we're not linked to him. Good luck to him. I really do hope he does well over there. Thunder, good evening to you. Kudus is Paqueta out. Kudus is Paqueta out talent for talent plus 40 mil. For what we bought Paqueta for last season, not bad. Maguire for me is a liability. Always makes a mistake ridden rather than go for another player who's more solid. I do honestly think that it might give Maguire a new lease of life. I really do. I could be wrong, but you don't turn into I don't know. I think he's a decent. He still can be a decent defender. Matt, Harry Maguire should go back to Leicester. Did the game finish? They were awful. What was the score? What was the final score? Hammer it. Matt, for me, the men's is always going to be the best watch for many reasons, but the ladies getting more interesting. Well, you're going to watch semi-final on Wednesday. I guess even I might watch that game. Make it happen. Good evening to you. Give Lingard a short-term contract. Pay as you go, minimum wage. He will be offered, if he is offered a contract, it won't be a pay as you go. But it won't be anything like he was getting the sort of money he was getting at Forest. Devon and Dave, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Finn, good evening to you. This Kudus bloke that we're linked with seems like a good player. He sure does. If we don't get rid of Paqueta, he would still be a good addition. 100% agree. Totally agree. Montana. The season never starts without feeling a team has been robbed. I guess Wolves has been robbed. I'm guessing they lost. Who's good evening to you, Sean? Who's Crowvarez? I didn't say. Look, I was calling him Alvarez last week, so I think I've done better today. David, good evening to you. Beats on Sunday. Come on, see, I would have been there on Saturday, wondering where you all were. Anyway, Jonathan, just joined. Good evening to you. Been mad. Have I missed anything? Not really. We talked about Ward-Prowse. We talked about the game very briefly. We talked about the under-21s and the under-18s and the women's team as well. So you missed all that. And now I'm on to the transfers. I think by the time that message was written, I started the transfer bit. Doogie, good evening to you. Thought Alvarez was the Rice replacement. It will definitely be starting for us. He is the Rice replacement. And do you know what? When he starts playing regularly, we're going to be asking Rice who? Honestly, he looks like the business. I've said it several times. If we get ourselves a defensive midfielder who wants to defend in midfield, I think the team will be transformed. The minute we allowed Declan Rice to dictate where he wanted to play, all of a sudden things went awry in the middle of the park. We didn't have that solidity because Declan wanted to go forward. Souček was caught out because being a defensive midfielder is not his game. And I think now with Alvarez coming in, he will just sit there. He's not interested in going forward or anything like that. He might go up for corners and stuff like that. You expect most of your tall players to do that. But I think Alvarez will be very, very decent for us. Let's scroll down. What have we got? Mikey. How good did Barnes look the other night? Bombing down that wing a couple of times and into the box, and his goal missed out big time. Well, maybe we might have something better coming up. Gary, good evening to you. No, I don't know. I don't understand the Barnes thing because I was told he was one of our top targets. Gary, I can't imagine Maguire hurting anything. I would rather him at centre-back and try and Kehrer at central defensive midfield. Wasn't it interesting? That's what happened on Saturday. Kehrer came on for Fornals. Bad mistake, I think. Not Kehrer's fault. Don't get me wrong. Kehrer came on for Fornals and he was put in central defensive midfield role. Don't know if he did that well. He looked a little bit sort of lost in the middle of the park. Anthos, good evening to you, mate. Can't believe Moyes is after Lingard after flashing his knickers at him again. Well, he's not after him, but he is training with West Ham. But there's only one conclusion, isn't there, really? you know what's going to happen. You just know. James, rumours aside, I think I know where he would have wanted to go. Who, where, when? You're talking about Lingard, probably. I see half an hour behind. I don't know who you're talking about. Who else have we got? Jonathan. Are they buying the minimum to compete, but holding back the rest until we see what Moyes does? Could be. I think we'll buy enough. Let's not forget, David Moyes likes smaller squads. He'd said that a couple of seasons ago. So if we do lose up to another 4 players and only bring 2 more in, I think Moyes will be happy with that. Shaky. Bayer Leverkusen's Odilon Kasunu on the radar. One of Steinen's boys. Yes. Hope I've just mentioned that. I think once the deadline, whatever that deadline is, for Maguire and for Man United to make up their minds, once that's over, we start looking at other targets. Montana. I'm waiting to hear the news. Moyes is sacked. Yeah, afraid not, mate. Andy, Stel, is this information from Sean saying that only 2 paid players, but frees and 2 loans could be added? Squad is thin, 2 keepers on the bench, only 6 outfield players on Saturday. However, Moyes don't use subs. Well, he doesn't, does he? He showed that again at the weekend. I get it from Sean. I get some information from Sean. I get some information from others, but they're corroborated. So, but I do go back when things don't come out the way I've been told. That's why I did my apology show a couple of weeks ago when I said, do you remember the whole Carlos Borges thing? He's coming, definitely. I've been told 100%. And then that didn't happen. Sometimes, what we're told is, look, this is what we understand things to be at this moment in time. I've always been told, mainly by Sean, don't expect a player to be at the club until that signature is on the contract. And that's true. And that's what happened with Borges. Could happen with any other player as well. Look, Aston Villa may come in for Maguire, pay him what he wants, and he might be off there instead of West Ham United. Make it happen. Marco Buga's son looking for a club. Is he any good? And does he live in a caravan? Mr. Doofus, good evening to you. No one wants Lingard. Needs to give their head a wobble. Anyone that wants Lingard needs to give a head a wobble. They have short memories. I agree. I don't really want him. I can see the logic. Maybe my logic is a bit skewed. You tell me what you think. Lingard in whilst we're bedding in Kudus until January, and then Lingard goes. I don't know. Garino, 2 players in, plus replacements for anyone leaving, I would imagine. Creswell, Antonio. Well, I've explained the Creswell situation. West Ham think, or certainly David Moyes probably thinks, he's got enough cover there. Ben Johnson, a Gerd, an Emerson. I think we should get a left back, without a doubt. Kieran Tierney was a target. Was a target recently, and now it looks like that might not happen either. Hammers Mikey, why sell for 85 million now when his buyout clause in a year is 85 mil? I don't know, mate. I don't know. Look, the good thing is we don't have to sell him, but if Man City come in with a deal that we think is tempting, then we may let him go. Allison, Lingard given permission to train with us. Moyes can now use him to help seal the transfer of Maguire and McTominay with a reward of a contract for himself. Interestingly, there's a little story about McTominay. Apparently, we went in with a last-minute bid for McTominay, was turned down again. This was just before JWP signed. We turned down again, and that's what made the JWP deal go through. Do you believe that? I don't know if I do, to be quite honest with you. Sometimes I've given a few stories, and I think, seriously, are we holding back the Ward-Prowse deal just because we might still get McTominay? I don't know. Seems all a bit odd to me. GP. Lingard wants to sign. Hammers fans no. Rice, Paqueta want to leave. So glad I support Millwall. Paul Flower. Downs is 1 year older than who he went to Red and White. Downs is 1 year older than the one who went to... no, he's 1 year younger. Downs is 23. That other person is 24, apparently. Yes, I'm right. Mr. Doofus, Hammerette, it's not a case of forgetting this. It's a case of that what we need right now by way of goals and assists. Desperate times, desperate measures, perhaps. We know he can contribute a lot. I don't think it's desperate times. I think there are better players out there. Moyes has just got to trust them, hasn't he? Good evening to you, Toldinho. Good evening to you. How do you think we'll line up with Fornals, Souček, WP and Alvarez, all available for selection? Well, there's going to be players dropping out. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be Fornals. Even though I think he had a really good game at the weekend, he'll be the guy that will be dropped. Alvarez will be defensive midfield. Souček, JWP. Souček will play more up front. Souček will play almost like a number 10. And then you'll have players in the middle, JWP, and possibly, whilst he's still here, Paqueta. Anthos, just imagine Paqueta thinking, shall I play for the dinosaur or Guardiola? Tough choice. Absolutely tough choice. Difficult one, isn't it? Garino, unless the deal is around 100 mil for Paqueta, I would say no, let him go next year, as his value to us over the next 12 months is worth more. I agree. I'd rather he stayed, but it won't surprise me if he does go. Andy, still, come on, Paqueta as a choice, Moyes or Pep. Oh, hang on, let me have a think and say, Luke, look, I don't disagree with you. You know my thoughts on this. I think the player will just want to go. He knows he's going to do better under Pep Guardiola. He knows he's going to become a better player under him. But if he stays, he will be look. I didn't expect him to play at the weekend, to be quite honest with you. And then when he did play, I didn't expect him to be putting the boot in like he did. Well done to him. Showing the commitment, even though he's got this transfer hanging over his head. Usual. Report saying Man City will go for Michael Elise at Palace if the Paqueta deal drags on. Good, and then we can keep him for the rest of this season. I would like nothing better, but it won't surprise me if Paqueta does go. Huge. I don't understand how anybody can go on about Downs. He's a championship player at best. He can only play backwards and sideways at best. I disagree with that, to be quite honest with you. I think Downs has is reasonable. Will he be a starter? Probably not. Probably not. But a good player, a good squad player? Yeah. Melissa. Hello, everyone. How are you doing tonight? All okay? We will get 3 points this Sunday at home to Chelsea, and the score will be West Ham United 3 and Chelsea 1. Thank you for joining, Melissa, and well done for that positivity. By the way, now that I've seen another new face, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It's right in front of you, down there somewhere. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the bell notification to let you know when I'm next on. Alison. Creswell, Antonio, Paqueta and Downs all set to leave means we are back to square one, needing 6 players again. I hope I've explained that probably why we won't get all 6. Good evening to you, Trini. I hope you're well. I can't be the only one who thinks we're a circus. Many people do, mate. Lingard training with us is the backdoor way to get him back in the team. Gonna happen. Same as Moyes' fascination with Slabhead. I don't disagree with any of that, unfortunately. Thunder. Basically out of the game for 2 years. Lingard has had a season where he came back off our loan and did nothing. Went to Nottingham Forest, did nothing. He's not going to be the same. I agree. He's not. He's not. Do I think that Moyes is the sort of person that will give him a short-term contract? Yes, I do. Do I think Moyes cares what the fans think? No, I don't think he cares one bit. I think he'll do what he wants to do if he thinks it's right for West Ham. We won't agree with it. You know, some people in the chat have suggested that maybe it will work. I've given a theory about the possibility of why Lingard could come in, especially if we buy Kudus. We know David Moyes won't play him straight off. Maybe it'll be a transition. Maybe a bit far-fetched as well. Gary, I wouldn't let Lingard go anywhere near our pitch. I'll tell him to go and train with Forest. Yeah, I mean, I don't think what he did with West Ham in terms of you know, dithering or not dithering or trying to push us to give him more and more money, I think was outrageous. And for that alone, you know, it shows that the player is interested in money than anything else. We actually rebuilt his career when he came on loan to us, to be quite honest with you. He even got back in the England team because of it. I thought he would have jumped at the chance to sign for us on a permanent deal. Hammer it. Are we in any sort of position, peeps, to turn down a player who was brilliant for us previously, goals and assists, getting us points on the table for at least 6 months? But that was 2 years ago. You know, like I've just said, and as people have alluded to, he's not the same player that he was back then. E. Davis, yeah. It's funny because it was Sean that reminded me, you know, if we sell Creswell, we may not get another left back because we've got Ben Johnson. You know, we have. I thought he was going to go. I thought Johnson was almost dead cert to leave this summer, but that hasn't materialized yet. Peter Hammond, good evening to you. Apparently his dad's agent is greedy. You tell me an agent that's not greedy. Epic. Lingard had no goals and assists for Forest in 17 appearances. He's washed up. End of discussion. Don't disagree. I don't disagree. But we're talking about what Moyes might do, not what you or I might do. You or I will turn around and go, no, thank you, mate. You know, you had your chance. It's gone. You know, but we're not Moyes, are we? God knows what goes on in David Moyes' head. Gary. Hammerette, I used to agree with you on one thing, but not on Lingard. He's 30 now, hasn't played in a year, and was crap at Forest. Yeah. Barry. Lingard said last year we didn't give him enough love. Fuck that, mate. That's why I joined Forest. Oh, yeah, plus the salary. Didn't give him enough. Even just for that comment alone, I've forgotten about that. Even for just that comment alone, you know, don't have him back. But we're not David Moyes, are we? Ralph to Hammerette, we aren't desperate. We've got money. We just have a dick of a manager. Andy, Kudus is Ghanaian. Yes. African nations, another player away in January, February. Yes, he would be. Is that a smart move for us? Well, that's short term. You know, we should have a squad deep enough to be able to handle that because we're going to have a few players. I think Gerd's going to the African Nations Cup. I think Ben Rahman will be going. I don't know who else. So we should have a squad big enough to be able to handle that sort of thing. But I hate the fact that the African Nations Cup is on, you know, halfway through the season. I think it's just rubbish. John. Bet Kudus is the fellow that Sean Whetstone is on about. No, interestingly, when I asked earlier on, I said, so give me some stories. And he said, we're interested enough, we want to sign at this moment in time, we want to sign. The only 2 positions, he said, was a centre-back and a forward. And I said Maguire and Kudus. He said Maguire. I don't know the name of the forward, but the stories have been coming out today have been all about Kudus. And so no, it wasn't sure. When I asked him, he said, "I'm not sure. I don't know. It might be him." But he wasn't sure. Oh, I've got some other news. We're going to bring in a couple of coaches, by the way. Now, there's the story about the, I've forgotten his name. I'm going to say Radford, and I know I'm going to be wrong. The Arsenal coach that's now left Arsenal. And there's a story that he could possibly be one of David Moyes' new coaches for this season. And the other coach, we've been trying to work out. Now, apparently the other coach has been at Getafe and Villarreal, etc. And we've been trying to sort of understand who it might be. And there's a couple of names. Let me just go into my chat to see if I can give you those names. I thought it might be Paul Clement. Do you remember Paul Clement? He's not a Spanish coach, but he's coached in Spain several times. And he's out of work now. The last time he was coaching was as an assistant coach to Frank Lampard at Everton until January of this year. And I was told, no, don't know, don't think it is. And so what I've been told is it could be either, possibly, but don't quote me on this. It could be Nacho Fernandez or Patry, who were both coaches at Getafe until the end of June. Now, I've been checking their details, and nothing is saying that they're going to stay at Getafe. So at this moment in time, it looks like they might be available. So we're apparently getting a coach, an assistant coach, who is either Spanish, who's worked at Getafe and I believe Valencia. So it could be Nacho Fernandez or Patry, or it could be a coach that has coached in Spain. And the one coach at the moment that's available is I mentioned his name just a moment ago. Let me go back in. It could be Paul Clement, who was assistant manager at PSG, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and he was also assistant coach to Frank Lampard at Everton. So watch out for one of those three names. You see, that's what ITKs do. You throw enough shit at the fan, some of it's going to stick, and one of them may come to West Ham. Paul Clement, Patry, or Nacho Fernandez. Watch out for that. You heard it here first. There you go. That's what ITKs do. GP, I'm tired of idolising these players. We all love Declan and he did a Judas, so sod it. If Lingard can play well, give him a go. There you go. There's the other side of the coin. Mr. Doofus, we will end up being the scumbag retirement home, come to West Ham for a holiday and good wages. We kind of don't do that anymore, but doing that with Lingard feels a little bit, I don't know. Garino. ITK update from Knees Up Mother Brown. Mentioned Kudus a week ago. Brighton in the driving seat, but we're trying to nab him. Maguire 50-50. Well, I've said more or less that. Brighton apparently are not in the driving seat. Apparently, Brighton have put in a bid. It's broken down. The dealings have broken down, and that's why now we're looking at potentially nicking him. I hope we do. Maguire 50-50. Yeah, you didn't need to go to the ITK at KUMB for that. You got that from me. Paul, Bone and Kudus could interchange position during each game. Right wing said exactly that. Exactly what I just said. You're spot on. The fact that Kudus is versatile, playing as a winger, playing up front, playing as an attacking midfielder, he could offer us something that more or less what Antonio is offering, which is why I said earlier on, don't think it matters whether we let Paqueta go or not. Kudus will still be a decent player to come in. Anthos, we can't be a selling club still because Moyes buys one player every window. That is true. Good evening, Kimbo. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Jonathan, question. How do you and people feel if we can't grow an attachment to our players? If everyone good is going to go. How do you and people feel if we can't grow an attachment to our players, if everyone good is going to go? Well, we might just have to get used to that. Like I said earlier on in the show, Steinen's approach is very much a similar sort of, look, David Sullivan wants the Brighton model, where you get young players in, you nurture them, you sell them for a profit, etc. And that wheel churns round. That's what Sullivan admires. That approach, and that's one of the reasons why Steiden has come in order to do that. We might have to get used to having a player that plays only a season or two for us, and then he does move on. But then if that happens and we've got a ready-made replacement plus a whole chunk of money in the bank to invest in the squad, would you mind not having the attachment to players? I don't know. Trini, still, you realise that Brighton model does not have Sullen and Moyes running it. Very true. Very, very, very true. Which is why Steiden's here. And Moyes will be gone at the end of the season. Shaky. Garino, Bayer Leverkusen, Odilon Kusunu is being looked at as an alternative, apparently. Yes, said that earlier on in the show. He is being looked at as a potential. Down to Maguire and Man United now. Anthos. Moyes takes all year to bed them in, whereas a proper manager sticks players in and watches them score. Absolutely. I don't disagree. Hammers Mikey. Usual suspect. I agree, mate. What did usual suspect say? Let's go back. It's too far up for me to find. So, some fans on here seem to forget about the contempt towards us. That mind boggles. The same fans that will settle for any old crap at this club. Well, everyone's got an opinion. You know, it's not always the same for everyone. And I don't want Lingard to come back, to be quite honest with you. But let's see what happens. Hammerit, Europe Cups and Premier League, no depth and a free agent sitting there who got 16 goal contributions in 6 months, and we're turning our noses up at it because he went elsewhere. I think the reason why, Hammerit, is because, as some people have alluded to, I said he's wasted a year. Actually, other people are right. He also wasted his time at Man United after he didn't come back to us. You know, he's hardly been used, in either at Man United or Forest in the last 2 seasons. I'm not so sure I'd want him back. Look, if he came back and he did well for us, yeah, fair enough. I can turn around and say I was wrong. But I think there are better players out there that we can sort of target. Huge. Lingard is wasted time and energy, which should be investing in younger, faster players. Mojo. So long as Lingard doesn't teach him social media skills, Kudus, yes, please, Lingard, meh. Trini. Funny. With Ming's long-term injury, hopefully Villa bid for Maguire and he goes there. It could happen. It could easily happen that he'll go to Aston Villa. And if that's the case, good luck to him. And then he's no longer our concern. David, we should be talking about our new signings yet again. Lingard disrupting our transfer window. Well, yeah, we talked at the beginning. I mean, Alvarez and Ward-Prowse coming in. Let's be honest, people. 2 pretty good signings for very, very different reasons. Alvarez, as I said earlier on in the show, is going to solidify our midfield. I think it's fantastic for us. I think it's going to give our midfield a new lease of life with Alvarez coming in. And Ward-Prowse, not only his set pieces, he's a grafter as well. He'll get stuck in there. He's a creative player as well. Not creative in the sense of, Paqueta, but he's going to be creative. He'll get us goals. I wouldn't be surprised if Ward-Prowse gets us 10 goals at least this season, double figures at least, and makes quite a few goals for us as well. Debenham Dave. Can't get excited about Lingard, but maybe against the European teams at early stages if wages are sensible. Yeah. Steve R. Lingard shouldn't be anywhere near our squad. Yeah. Let's scroll down. Brad Bumgarner. Good evening to you, mates. We should just move on if Man United expect us to wait for them to replace him. I agree, which is why apparently, as I said tonight, they've been given a deadline. I don't know what that is, but a good guess it's got to be around about Wednesday. If we don't sign him by then at least we've got a little bit of time to start looking at other players. Paul Evans, he doesn't want to come and the club is too small for him and we are sat here waiting for him. Joke of a club. Yeah, I agree. We should not be waiting for Maguire. I totally agree. How far behind am I? Not too bad. Huge. Still, with all due respect, what a load of bullshit. Keep Lingard. Yeah, no, I respect your comment. You know, I said it's speculation. I didn't say it was fact. That that the reason why Lingard might be coming is to sort of help bed in Kudus, but you could possibly see it happening. Fin. Would love to see this Kudus lad. Even if we don't sell Paqueta, I would still want him. And that, yeah, as I explained earlier, I think it's down to us getting letting Antonio go more than Paqueta going. You know, I can see Kudus replacing Antonio. What else we got? John. There he goes again, talking about Wednesday. I think he's looking forward to waking up to a semi too. Who's talking? I'm talking about Wednesday. I'm guessing that Wednesday will be the deadline for Maguire. Gary, I want some physically aggressive players, some Alvarez, Martinez, and Anthony types. Alvarez? is going to give you that. Ward-Prowse gets his foot in there as well. And ironically, if we get Maguire, he is also a physical player. Thank you, Toldinho. Much appreciated, mate. E. Davis. We're still talking about Lingard. What is wrong with Moyes? Go to therapy, Jude. Jonathan, why does it feel like we got relegated last season? I think is what you're saying. Lost all our good players and some crap ones. Still have a crap manager and buying fillers. So weird. It is, to be quite honest with you. It is a little bit weird. Todinho. Alvarez playing deeper and Soucek playing higher up. Recipes for success. There you go. Charlie. Jesse Lingard for short-term deal. David Moyes, get him in. Look what Jesse Lingard did when he was at West Ham with 9 goals. We need Lingard back in. See, people have different opinions. That's why I like doing these shows, because not everyone agrees. And so long as you keep it respectful, which you guys do, which is fantastic, it's great to have that difference of opinion, because a comment will trigger a different comment and so on and so forth. It's good. It's like having your mates down the pub, isn't it? And talking like the old-fashioned way before all this social media rubbish. The old-fashioned way of talking about transfers and players. He was shit. He was good, etc., etc. That's the kind of community that we've got going on here, and I'm pleased about that. James, looking forward to seeing the women playing too, but the Matildas aren't too shabby, especially at home. Yeah, going to be a tough game for England on Wednesday, isn't it? Oh, that's what you're talking about Wednesday, John. Yeah, watch the women's game and be happy. Finn, next thing there'll be rumours that Moyes took Lingard to the pub. Probably, and to his favourite club. Anthos, don't think it matters who we buy still. With Moyes there, it's like watching paint dry. And I did say that in my show this morning, that, back to basics, and it will not be pleasant. Fred, it won't be pleasant to watch. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Do I expect to go and be entertained this season? Probably not. Fred, see some clips of Alvarez playing for Ajax, scored a few goals and was getting forward. Can't see it happening with Moyes, though. He will sit, and I'd be quite happy for him to sit and allow all the other players, midfielders, etc., to go forward. Charlie, I don't get with Eric want to let Ten Hag want to let Maguire leave Man United. He knows that Maguire needs regular football. I don't get he won't let him leave. Well, it's not that he won't let him leave. He wants a replacement before he does let him leave. But we can't wait the whole transfer window for Man United to do their business and then turn around to us and go, right, you can have him now. That's not good for us, because we do need a central defensive midfield, a central defender. We have not placed Craig Dawson since we sold him in January. So I'm glad that we've given them a sort of a deadline, a time frame. I'm glad we've said by this time, if the deal's not done, we move on. Good. Toldinho. I don't get the concept behind Lingard training when he's not an employee. Can't they politely point him in the direction of David Lloyd Chigwell? I get it, but I don't know. But then the rumours spread, don't they? Lingard's coming to West Ham. It won't surprise me if he does. But Lingard did us a favour. Yes, that was said earlier on. Thank God you finished that sentence. Lingard did us a favour, got Paqueta. Scarborough, good evening to you, mates. X is saying Harwood Bellis is the backup for Maguire. I hope it is. I really do hope it is. I don't know, to be quite honest with you, because I know that we're looking at a couple of central defenders, and Harwood Bellis has been mentioned several times over this transfer window. Harwood Bellis, 21 years of age, England under-21 international, very decent player for Man City. Let's do it. £15 million as opposed to £30 million for a player that can only grow over the years. E. Davis. Taking off Paqueta and Fornals was disgraceful. They were absolutely our best players. And we kind of, taking off Fornals, bringing on, there's the irony, wasn't it? We were a goal up, we lost the goal. And instead of bringing on an attacking player to try and get, regain the lead, he took off an attacking player or a midfielder for a defender. And there you go. Andrew. Can't forget how good Lingard performed when he was here last. Part of me thinks fuck him, and part thinks we've got a lot of games this season. Give him a 2-month trial and see what happens. Razor, let's try and catch up now. Seriously, some clowns thinking Onana is a replacement for Maggot. 2 different positions. Don't people watch football? Who, what, where? Which Onana? Are you talking about Onana from Everton to replace who? Good evening to you, Zan. If we get Lingard for a decent wage, I'd honestly take him as a Lanzini replacement. He's not going to start, but a bench guy who was at his best when the Hammers only a couple of years ago. See, some people think it's a good idea. David, Tierney to injury prone. Truffert would be better, younger and a lot cheaper. Now, it's interesting with Truffert because apparently he's either agreed, he's signed, or he's going to sign an extended deal with Rennes. So I don't know what's happening there. That link seems to have gone a bit cold. Martin, I'm not going to watch any game with TikToker on the pitch. This is a circus. Let's scroll down a bit. Kimbo, McTominay doesn't want to come. Maguire hedging his bets. Fuck the pair of them. Leave them on the bench. Well, McTominay isn't going to happen anyway now that Ward-Prowse has been done. Maguire, I said it earlier on the show. Let's stick to that deadline, and if that deadline comes and goes, then we move on. Razor Maggot hopefully will stay at Manure. All right, you're talking about Maguire or Villa and get him saving us a fortune. Hope at last David Moyes doesn't get his first choices. Hammerette, I had an idea earlier. Feed Moyes some of the lasagna Sunday morning from 15 years ago and let Tim or Nobes take on pitch side. You eat anything from 15 years ago, you are going to get very, very sick. Greg. Apparently, we're showing interest in Mexico striker Santiago Jimenez from Feyenoord to replace Antonio. First I've heard about that. That may have come out this evening, but the big story tonight really is about Kudus from Ajax. And if we do go for him, I can see that happening. Versatile player. I don't think Moyes is going to go for yet another player that's played overseas as a striker option. Kudus is slightly different. He's an attacking midfielder. He's a winger. He can play up front. That might be a little bit different. All out of bubblegum. Good evening to you. I don't let a snake into your home when you know it's a snake. Yeah, you're talking about dear old Lingard. Thunder. Good evening to you. I'm glad Moyes doesn't care what the fans think. Yeah, to a point. He is his own man. But you can then see why why the fans get really riled. Manji Barry, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. The fewer players we get now, the more money will be left for Moyes, his successor. There's a silver lining. Martin, I'm absolutely convinced if Lingard gets some kind of offer to join, he'll contribute nothing. Possibly. And then that's why people are saying if he's going to get an offer, make it short term. E. Davis, Moyes seen in the lab trying to recreate a lockdown situation for his golden boy Lings. Barry, Moyes is a see you next Tuesday. Can't stand the man. It's Moyes way or no way. It is Moyes way or no way. We know that. Let's try and get a few more in before I go. Mandy, think this is going to be Moyes' final year where he sticks two fingers up to the fans all the way to the end. He sure will, Mandy. He sure will. You're absolutely right. Which is why he won't give a damn. If he wants Lingard and Maguire, he's going to get Lingard and Maguire, and he won't care a jot if we like it or not. Let's scroll down. Keith. Lingard is a snake. Sullivan is spineless. Moyes has no honour or integrity. Sums it up nicely. Paul. Okay. 6 days difference in age between Flynn Downs, younger, and Declan. Is it only 6? Funny that. I thought it was more. But yeah, thank you for that. Mikey. Just one massive coach style for Moyes to park in that 18-yard box. You know what? I don't even know what these coaches are like, to be really honest with you. Martin. Oh, massive coach. I got that just now. Martin, when was the last time people booed at their own players at West Ham? This is only reason I would love to sign him, to boo him. John, coaches, Roundel, Vovos. Razor, wait till Chelsea show us how football with Poch's how the game should be played. Process on pitch, please. But Burnley again, watch Sully run, sack Moyes at last. I really hope, in all honesty, that we do not have pitch invasions or anything like that. I was at that game at Burnley, and I'm sure many of you were as well. That was one of the saddest moments being a West Ham fan, to be quite honest with you. I understand it. I get it. Fans were frustrated back then. You know, they were doing demonstrations, etc. But the minute it went onto the pitch, that was a problem that we should never have had. I think that was awful, that happening. I hope to God, you know, if people want to protest, by all means, do it outside there before the game, etc., just like they did before. don't bring it on the pitch. I think that's the worst thing that can happen, with the greatest of respect, Razor, to be quite honest with you. Andrew, it won't happen anyway. Moyes already under pressure, won't want to alienate the fans even more, won't he? Really? Under pressure? He said it even the other day, about losing his job, almost like it doesn't matter. He almost doesn't care. He's got to the stage now that he doesn't care what people think. Schmiegel, I saw we were being linked with striker Eli Wahi. All I can say is that I don't recommend reading his Wikipedia page. I know I've read. The reason why I've not talked about Wahi and many other players that we're supposedly linked to is because most of the stories are just bollocks. Now, the reason why I mentioned Kudus is because, I've been told you read various stories, etc. And this one's a more solid link than some of the others. Sully isn't spineless. I know him personally. He's put in millions into this club. He was warned by his brother Clive not to buy a club. He bought two. Clive has a share in Chelsea. There you go. I know Sai, and I know he's not bullshitting as well. Mandy, after he snubbed us at Hammer, he shouldn't be anywhere near us. It's what a lot of people think. And I'll be honest, that's the way I was thinking too. Usual. Lingard gave West Ham the finger, took the piss out of West Ham on Twitter. Now Moyes wants him again. Show some dignity. Let's get this right. He's training with West Ham. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate into the player being offered a contract. It's a possibility, but it doesn't mean that at this moment in time. Let's scroll down. Hammers Mikey. Bet Moyes. I'm not reading that one. Sorry, Mikey. Edio. Still, I think you meant that we are looking for a coach to replace Moyes. No, as Tim Steiden will take over at all the managerial duties, and whoever comes in just has to coach the players. No, I'm not, mate. At the moment, David Moyes has lost Nevin and Warburton. He needs to bring in at least one or two coaches. And from what I understand, I can't remember the guy's name from Arsenal that was the coach at Arsenal who's left, but there's that coach quite possibly coming in, and one of the other coaches that I mentioned earlier. Garino. I get what you mean now, Eddie. Garino, still, I think you misheard. He actually said that he wanted a nachos and KFC. Let's scroll down. The world is turbulent. The West Ham's world is turbulent at the moment. Judas Lingard, I feel like Moyes really does love to torture the supporters. That would be torture, wouldn't it? I mean, it would be. I mean, it'd be like, mate, what are you doing? But that would be David Moyes through and through. NWO. Cotti was our last 20 goals scorer in the season. We need a striker. We've been needing a striker for years and years and years. Gary, no striker, no goals. We need to spend. What about Bowen playing up front? Would you be happy with that? Jared Bowen playing up front? Mandy, we had two decent strikers in Allaire and Scamacca, but he won't play to their strengths. I agree with that. I do. Stuart, Lingard to come back, then go again when he puts himself in the shop window. That's fine. We don't want him forever. Come in for a little while and off you go. Trini, honestly, I feel like with Moyes being with us for 4 years, only certain types of players want to play for him. Well, that's true. You listen to the show I did earlier today about Moyes going back to basics. He's going to make us the sort of team that's going to be gritty, hard to beat, etc., etc. It's not going to be pleasant. It's not going to be great to watch, but we're going to be tough to beat. That's for sure. Matt, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has them. Some people have got two. What else we got here? Kimbo, we have to wait a season to sack Moyes. Watching this week in, week out, I'm too old for this again. Get some balls and sack him. I think we're going to have to suffer it one more season, mate. One more season until he wins something, and then he'll be given a 5-year extension, of course. Anthos, Moyes will send Ward-Prowse on the 94th minute, Alvarez on the 97th. Well, at least then it won't be Cornet, poor bastard, coming on so late. 6 times 9, Danny, good evening to you. Too small for Maguire because he can't move for offers from the top 6 club. Very true. Very true. I totally agree with that comment. Keith, it would be the West Ham way to beat Chelsea. Just typical. It would be. And that would be great, wouldn't it? And everything would be all right. Lingard scoring the winning goal in the 94th minute. I'm joking. Dan, Lingard would do more for us than Cornet does, to be honest. Well, Cornet Cornet coming on for 3 minutes ain't going to get a bloody chance, is he? I feel sorry for Cornet. I want to see what he's capable of. Adam, we just all have to wait for the end of the season for Moyes to go, and then we'll just have to find something else to moan about, and we will. It's how people are. Wouldn't that be interesting if that still won't make us happy? Good point. Good point. Dave, Galispera, mate. I hope you're well. It's not Stav, it's still, but that's all right. Lingard, free signing, cheap wages for 4 months contract. If he turns up, give him another 4 months contract option. As we have a player shortage, no brainer. See, there are people that will say it's not a bad idea to have him. I don't want him, but anyway. Mikey, Hammerit, get Stella tissue. Thanks for the update on him. Glad he had gone. Who's gone? Have I gone? Mark, West Ham have played their hand in search for a new striker at Feyenoord. Santiago Gimenez. Look, it's a new one to me. This must have come out tonight because I haven't heard that story until now. So I'll look into it, and if it looks like it's nailed on, I can't see it. You know, of the players that we're kind of in for or being linked to, I think Kudus could be the one that we might get over Jimenez. But I'll have a look at that. Martin, why are we waiting on Maguire to make up his mind? Apparently, it's not now. Apparently, it's Ten Hag waiting until he can get a replacement for Maguire. Epic. Rumour has it that Moyes and Lingard were spotting in Canning Town. 1KJ Sessions, good evening to you. Use Lingard as he used us, and if good enough, be a squad player. Yeah, it could work. I don't know if I want it. I don't know. I definitely don't want it, but it could work. Dave, Maguire's problem is convincing his family to move to East London. Seems they aren't keen. Well, go to Aston Villa then. It's a lot closer, and it's a shithole. Sean, Dyer spotted at Stratford Premier Inn, talking to Lingard's sister's hairdresser. Amaret, as usual, can you get odds on Cornet being offside within a couple of minutes? Ask him for a friend. I feel sorry for Cornet. I'll say it out loud. I feel sorry for Cornet. I think he should be given more game time. Jonathan, if Kudus is replacing Antonio, who's replacing Skamaka or the other half of Rice's role? No one. We're not going to get. I did say at the beginning of the at the end of the season, the beginning of the transfer window, I did say we might only get 2 or 3 players in this transfer window. We might see more leaving. Now, at the time, I wasn't thinking of the players that have left that would leave. You know, I didn't think Skamaka would go and maybe Paqueta going, etc. But I did say at the beginning of the transfer window, you might see a smaller squad this season. It's beginning to kind of work out that way. Mikey, I think Lingard fisted Moyes. That's how he lost his watch at the end of the season. That's why Moyes is crab as hell. Martin, I'm really not a fan of Harry Maguire, but a move away from United could be good for him. I agree. Look, if we get Maguire, I think he'll be all right for us. If we don't get him, then we move on. Apparently, someone said it could be Harwood Bellis, the young under-21 player at Manchester City. Henry, bit awkward that our whole home attendance booed him on the pitch last season when he came on as a sub for Forest. Yeah, and then he'll come and play for us in our shirt. I don't know. Can you see it happening? Razor, still don't worry what Moyes wants. He's going as soon as we lose those games, please. Well, I asked, you know, when do you think, if Moyes doesn't do well this season, when do you think he'll go? And I was told no earlier than Christmas. You know, if it's not doing well, we might be stuck with him until Christmas. Andrew, Alvarez is going to be a busy boy on Sunday, experiencing Moyes ball for the first time. How long before he becomes disillusioned with the Neanderthal tactics? We see the irony is a player like that, a defensive midfielder, will probably love it. He'll probably relish it. Well, until we start getting battered, and then that'll be different. Bezel, good evening to you. Evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Much appreciated. Thank you for joining, Eddie. Much appreciated, mate. Melissa. Yeah, sign Lingard. Come on, West Ham. Jesse Lingard was a good player for West Ham, and Jesse Lingard will do well for the club again. Are you a Hammers fan, Melissa? Not that I mind. It doesn't matter. Hammer it. Let's be real. If Moyes don't want to upgrade the fans, he wouldn't have let Lingard train at our training ground. That's a good point. Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. NWO, first trophy in 40 odd years. Sack Moyes, I'm no fan, but the last few years have been our best in terms of finishing in the league, finishing finishing sixth, finishing seventh, semi-finalists in the Europa League, winners on the Europa Conference. It hasn't been too bad, has it? To be quite honest with you. Willem, good evening to you. No way I want Lingard. If you couldn't do it at Forest, he can't do it here. And as for Maguire, he can do one too. Bezel. Only thing I can positively say if Lingard is given a partial contract is we have a lot of games this season, home and abroad, and if he can still fit, we could use the squad depth. Yeah, that's what Amaret has been saying as well. I get the logic. I don't really want him, but I get the logic. Mark, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Imagine how Pablo would feel if he's not further down the pecking order by Lingard. He shouldn't be anywhere near the club. That's a really good point. Fornals could be one of the 4 guys for Lingard coming in. That's a really good point. Razor, first Mickey Mouse trophy we win, and fans think, no, I'm not having that. I don't care who we played, and I don't care that people think. For me, there's always been 3 European competitions from the time I was a kid. You've always had things like the Cup Winners' Cup, the European Cup, UEFA Cup, etc. There's always been 3 competitions. It doesn't matter what you name them. There's always been 3 competitions in Europe. We won one of them just because it's been retired. I think the worst thing that UEFA did was calling it the conference, Europa Conference. They should have given it a bit more of a fancier title. And I don't care who we played either, to be quite honest with you. And I do agree that Fiorentina were the only team that really gave us a hard time of it. Yeah, I do agree with that. But to be really, really honest with you, you win a trophy, you win a trophy. It's got us back into Europe, back for the 3rd season in a row. That's, let's be honest, that's the first time that's ever happened in our history, playing in Europe for 3 seasons in a row. I'm not having that. With the greatest of respect, Razor, I'm not having that it's a Mickey Mouse trophy. I get the point you're trying to make, because we did play lesser teams, yeah, but that's not our fault. Those were the cards that were thrown at us. We're kind of like we don't pick and choose who we play, but we did well. Look, we did well in Europe the season before, and we're playing even harder teams. To be quite honest with you, we should have beaten Eintracht Frankfurt. We would have beaten Rangers in the final. Look, a trophy's a trophy. It's given us another season in Europe, and I'd take that absolutely. Arhus, good evening to you. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Ed, great show. Night to you, mate. Thank you for joining, Ed. Much appreciated. James, Stell has already won some. He already has won something. First trophy in 43 years. Gritty and hard to beat. Has qualified us for Europe for 3 years on the trot. How quickly we forget? Yep. Papa. I don't mean it disrespectfully, Razor, but a trophy's a trophy. Papa, is there any truth that we've gone in for Amrabat? We should be going in for Amrabat if we were sensible, because if you think about it, Amrabat is a very decent footballer, and Man United are going in for him for something like £25 million. But apparently, he's not interested in coming to West Ham, so we haven't looked at doing any deal there. John, does anyone know what the photos of Moyes are? The ones that Lingard and Souček have. Schmiegel. Moyes wants us to be counter-attacking football, but you need pace to be counter-attacking. We don't have hardly any pace. That's why we rely on set pieces. That's why I think that this Kudus story is quite interesting, because he's got pace to burn. That would be quite an interesting one for us. Schmiegel, Wolves hurt Man United's defence tonight because they had tons of pace that ran at their defence. There you go. Pace is what it counts, doesn't it? 1J, or 1K, sorry. If Moyes is not bothered how we finish, being he goes at the end of the season, is that 2 fingers to the fans with his selection of players? I'd say yes, to be quite honest with you. I say it would be 2 fingers up to the fans. He won't care. He'll walk away. He'll say I'm a winner, and that'll be that. Dave, anything on Fofana? No, unfortunately. Fofana was rumoured to be a player that we will be interested in, and if Paqueta goes, but nothing's materialised. Josh Brownhill, I wouldn't read too much into that. Josh Brownhill, we were linked to about 3 seasons ago, and that's the sort of player that comes and goes in the transfer window, so I don't think anything of that. I see Gyökeres scored twice at the weekend in Portugal, another wasted chance of a decent striker. Gone due to dither and maybe sometimes, like I said before, there are some stories I don't even bother to cover them because I just don't think there's any substance to them. Fofana, disappointed because I thought we were interested in him. Josh Brown, Don't think that anything's going to happen. Gyökeres, I don't know if we were really interested in him either, to be quite honest with you. Graham, West Ham have ended up getting quite a few transfers to add to last year's transfers, quite convincing. I don't think we have. We're losing more players than we're actually getting in at the moment. Cape, West Ham is about attractive football. Moyes does not give us that. Agreed. Him and Lingard can do one and move to Stoke. And yet, Lingard gave us attractive football when he was on form for us. Hamret. Moyes won't want a relegation on his CV after the last 3 successful seasons under him. Don't see that he's going to be doing this on purpose. He's just too old and can't modernise his tactics. I agree with that. He does certain things in certain ways. You know, we don't like it, but he sees it as successful, even though we don't like it. What else we got? Graham. Ended up doing good business in the transfer windows and add last year's business starting to look quite dangerous. Are we though? I think we're going to look more solid this season without a shadow of a doubt. Looking more dangerous, we need to add up front to be more that. George, the more players that can score us more goals over the season is what we need. And without a shadow of a doubt, I think Ward-Prowse will give us that. Mr. Doofus. Mr. Doofus, Hammerette. I watched the stream with no commentary, and you could hear Moyes calling the players behind the halfway line. What, to go back? Papa. It was good. It's going to be a tougher European tour this year. I agree with that. But let's have it right. Last year's trophy was huge for us. Everyone wants to win a trophy now. I agree. Totally agree. And it was a fantastic day. You know, going to that final, being in the stadium, you know, seeing what happened there. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. Schmeigel, do you think we'll sign a striker still? Or is Moyes thinking of converting Kudus into a striker? No strikers seem to work under Moyes. That's why he's always converting wingers. Well, like I said earlier in the show, mate, interestingly, Kudus' stats suggest that he plays more up front as a striker and as a winger. And then the next set of stats is as an attacking midfielder. He can play defensive midfield as well. So he's already playing in the striker role. That won't be new to him. Andrew, Roma and Mourinho were made up when they won the Conference League. Exactly, as we are too. Other clubs' fans love to diss it, but it's bitterness and jealousy as they would love to do so. I'll tell you something for nothing. If any club turns around and goes, I'm not interested. If any fan says, oh, the Europa Conference, look, that day out, that whole time out in Prague and leading up to it as well, all the away games I was lucky enough to go to, etc. There was an atmosphere. It didn't matter that it was a Europa Conference. We still won something, and it meant a lot. Hammerette, we've got to get through this season, staying in the top flight, and then we see who we can get into work with Scarfy and get excited again. We'll back every player through the door regardless. Look, same. Whoever becomes a West Ham player, I'll back him. Would I cheer many of them? Probably not. You know, would I cheer Lingard if he scores? I'd be happy for West Ham. But would I cheer him? I don't know. No. And will I start singing any songs for him? No. Pat Pong. We lost out to Ajax for Borges from City. Then X said we would go back up for Damari Gray for 10 million. Any updates or bullshit? Nothing. Absolutely zero on Damari Gray, to be honest with you. Fasingo. Is Fofana off now? I've not heard. Nothing has come up lately. You know, last week in the show, he featured prominently, but since then it's gone completely quiet. And the big news is about Mohammed Kudus at the moment. Mark, are we linked with any left-sided players still? We've no cover if Cresswell leaves. No, I said that earlier on the show. It looks like even if Cresswell goes, that we might not get a replacement for him because it looks like Moyes would think Ben Johnson. He's played as left back before, ironically, does better there at left back than he does at right back or at central defence. And also quite possibly, if we do get another central defender in, let's say for argument's sake, Maguire, you might see Zuma and Maguire in the middle of the central defence and possibly a Gerd out left. Christian, great show still. Love that you give everyone a voice. I'm excited for Sunday. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Thank you for the comment. James, if you want entertainment over gritty and hard to beat, Shaftesbury Avenue is for you. Whereas if you want pretty witty, just around the corner from there. Cape, Lingard has skill. It's true, but he's lazy and only upped his game to get into the England squad. What did he give for Forest? Absolutely right. Nothing. He's lazy and all about the money. Please, God, no, I don't want him. But I will, like people have said, if he wears a West Ham shirt, you'll support him because you're supporting the team. Lee, great show. Thank you, mate. Chat's been comedy gold, as it always is. Be safe and love. Thank you very much, Lee. Much appreciated. And hope you have a good week. Jeremy, Origi next, please. He's gone already to Monaco. Might as well continue with the shit show. He's gone already. He's gone to Monaco. So don't worry. We're not getting him. Graham, what is 36 years for West Ham to have success? Some people who eat longer. We've just got to remember that who eat longer. 36 years, 43 years. It's been a long time. Might be another long time again before we win anything. Fazingo, the results under Moyes must have been some of the best for West Ham over the last 20 years. Do you think he gets enough credit for this? No, he doesn't get credit for the number of wins. Let's be honest. Because it's a style of play. People are upset with his style of play. Excuse me. That's been the problem, to be quite honest with you. Good question. Keith, fans calling it a Mickey Mouse Cup. It's a European trophy. Easy clubs that we beat. Well, maybe some of them were. So why do we get knocked out of the FA Cup by Gillingham? Respect the trophy, not the opposition. Good point. Good point. Papa, if we have a half-decent season, do you think Moyes will be offered a new deal? No, I actually do not. I think call the owners stupid at times, but I think one thing that they won't do is they won't give him another contract. They'll see this through, and then he'll go with our blessings. Anthony, just because we won a European Conference League, Villa fans think they can do it. Watch them go out in the group stages. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? If they think it's going to be easy, go and do it. Absolutely good point. Aidan, Gary O'Neill turned up tonight with half his team sold. Should have won with better finishing. Moyes turns up with West Ham. He puts out the white flag before you leave the dressing room. It is a shame. And I said that earlier on the show. The minute we scored, we conceded an awful lot of space on the pitch. Andrew, Kudus would be the piece de resistance. Please make it happen. It would be fantastic if he did. If we did get him. I think he sounds like a really interesting player. Schmeigel, I'd love Jonathan David at West Ham. I'm surprised no one has made a bid for him. He's in his last year of his contract, isn't he? He is one of the best strikers in Europe. Think in Europe, only Haaland scored more goals than him last season. I didn't know that stat. Pat Pong, the left back from Maysad Alkmaar, who went to Bournemouth, 15 mil, looks decent against us, full of energy. Max Aarons for 7 million, decent business. And they also signed Guernsey, Grealish, Alex Scott. They did indeed. They're going to be an interesting team to watch this season. Hammerit, the first criteria to tick when looking for a striker is his best played as a lone striker. That's the thing. Now, what's interesting about Kudus is he can play that lone striker role. He's got the physique for it. And the fact that he plays out wide, he plays out in the wings, down the flanks, etc. He could be an interesting proposition. Fazingo, Moyes has big pressure on his shoulders this season, forcing his own transfers and rumoured conflict with Steiden. Well, he won't care because it's his last season. So he literally will not care. If he gets fired, who do you fancy to take over? I genuinely don't know. I honestly don't. I think a lot of us put our bets on Xabi Alonso, the Bayer Leverkusen manager, but he's now about to sign, or he has signed an extended contract there. But then, contracts are made to be broken, I guess. So I don't know, to be honest with you. I genuinely don't. Lee, just got here, just watched Wolves play Man United. They were unlucky. There are plenty of good, hard-working, quality players. They're not going down. Watch the highlights. I will do, mate. Thank you for that. Mojo, Kudus is versatile. Oh, no, Moyes may have him on the bench in a goalkeeper. Lee, Emerson, the only player to win all three. He is. He won the Champions League, Europa League, and the Europa Conference. Papa, if Origi is signed for Monaco, that means Balogun is still available. Balogun is apparently going to Spurs. Do you believe that? Do you believe Arsenal will sell a player at Spurs? But that's apparently the story out tonight. And I asked about that. I asked, are we in for Balogun? I was told no. And I was surprised by that as well. Jeremy, we're still next manager all day long. You don't know if he's going to be able to do the same in the Premier League as he's done in the French League. But yeah, fair play. And he's also a West Ham fan as well. Pat, Kudus very versatile, can play across the front three. Absolutely, he can. I totally agree. 1K. Watching Chelsea, do we see a win or loss on Sunday? Me and Son will be there and very worried. Don't be worried. Go and enjoy it. Go and enjoy it. If the crowd are up for it, it'll be a fourther. I thought it was on Saturday. I was going to turn up on the wrong day. Go and watch it. Go and enjoy it, because I think, you don't know what West Ham will turn up. We could go out there. We can smash them. I remember a couple of seasons ago when we were 2-0 down or 2-1 down when we scored the penalty through Lanzini, and then in the second half we came back and smashed them. We were all over them. That was the day that Masuaku scored that deliberate strike. Not Fasingo. Do you think Will Still and Michael Carrick could succeed at West Ham? Michael Carrick. I think Michael Carrick, you look at his background, having played for West Ham United, having gone and learned under one of the best managers we've ever had in the British football, under Ferguson. He's doing excellent at Middlesbrough. I don't know how it started for him this season, but he did really well last season. I could see it being Carrick. I can see someone like Carrick coming in. Anthony, Everton get relegated this season and Moyes leaves and joins Everton in the Championship and brings them back up. That could happen, couldn't it? Fasingo, who is your favourite player at West Ham United now? And who was my all-time favourite is Alan Devonshire. I'm old enough to remember him playing. My favourite now, well, it's got to be Paqueta, and I'll tell you for why, even though he may not stay too long. It's got to be Paqueta because I didn't think he'd have the sort of, he'll have the physical part of his game, and I admire that. He's a creative player, and I love creative players, but the fact he gets his foot stuck in as well is fantastic. Lopetegui would be a good manager. Fasinga, I'm going to say no way I'm biased. Lanzini, of course, your loved one. Right, I'm stopping there. Just done 2 hours. Didn't think I would. Thank you all for watching. Really much appreciated. As usual, you keep me on my toes with all your comments. Sorry if I couldn't bring up all. I do try and bring up at least 1 or 2 comments from every single person. And if I've missed you out, my sincere apologies. I'll say it again. If you're new to the channel, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I want to get to 4,000. I don't know why. Ego, I guess. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell notification, because that'll let you know when I'm next doing a show. Thank you all for watching. Really much appreciated. Have a brilliant week. All right? Don't let West Ham get you down. Have a great week. I'll be back when there's more news. I'll do a pre-recorded if I can. I might do, I'm not promising, a Friday Night Live. I haven't done one for absolute ages. And what I might also do, I'll have a guest on. And if I can't get the guests I want, then I might open it up to you guys to come on and be the guests of the show live. You can, if you don't want to show your face, you can go behind a screen. You don't have to put your camera on. So think about that as well. So see you all very soon. Have a wonderful week. Don't get upset. It's only football. And I'll see you all, soon.